Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. I hope that everybody's doing well today and enjoying themselves, that we are at best finding the humor in as much of today's events as we can. We are living in look here, man. If I have to say we're living in crazy times one more time, I probably will slap myself. So let me stop that because this is beyond crazy. But I've got my good friend, none other than C.A. Newry himself, here to join me to talk about these crazy times, my boy. C.A., what you say?
It hot. That's what I'm saying. I can say it hot. There's some hot times.
Listen, and those weather can tell you what's coming, eh?
Yes. I always get concerned when it's extremely hot in the Bahamas. I find that there tends to be more hurricanes and tends to be more bad weather. So when I see it hot like this and I'm forced to have my car air conditioner on all day, wherever I go, I do become concerned.
Hold on, man. You don't have your air conditioner on all the time normally?
No, I'm on a budget.
So that's why you get a friendly and eco-friendly car like mine.
I should have, instead of getting a Honda.
Man, listen, man. When y'all get these hybrids and this is the way to go.
Yeah.
Shoot. AC, who's spending money on gas? I will ride around in a small car. One is eco-friendly. Boom. The only thing I need now is like a $30,000 loan.
Yeah.
I ain't borrowing no money for no Tesla, but if somebody was gonna lend me some money, I'd get a Tesla.
I speak it into your life.
Thank you. I don't want a loan though. So if somebody will give me some money.
A gift, a grant.
A good solid one, you know.
A love offering.
That would be Shanta. Yes, sir. Rockefeller. I felt it in my spirit. I felt it in my spirit. I did. All right, my boy. So today ain't yesterday, eh? Because yesterday was pandemonium. Yesterday was the reckoning.
Yes.
That's what I called yesterday. Yesterday was the reckoning, the national fallout of, I wouldn't even say of the administration, I would say of the prime minister.
Yep.
I believe that the prime minister was the sole pinpoint of every person's national angst. It was not the Aguilar. It wasn't Dames. The competent authority, the prime minister, the most honorable Hubert Alexander Minnis, was disliked by most, if not all, right? I call that day yesterday the national fallout. Today, I want to chat about with you in this first hour, because in the second hour, I have a wonderful doctor who's going to be joining me to talk about how we build up our immune systems from COVID, how do we fashion ourselves to live with this disease rather than always talking about it and running from it. So that's Dr. Williams-Lockhart, who'll be joining us at 5. But I wanted to get from you, and I wanted to have this discussion today, and I know you'll be joining me on Friday as well. Thanks
for telling me that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, and I wanted to say it on air too, so it was commitment. It was a commitment.
Yeah.
Who needs to send these things via WhatsApp?
There you go.
Who does that? What did you think today, Cecil, of all that has transpired from Monday evening to today and the calls for the prime minister's resignation?
2 parts. What do I think about yesterday, and what do I think of yesterday today?
Yes.
Which is 2 different answers, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yesterday, in fact, let me start from the lockdown. Just hearing about the lockdown caused panic. I panicked, but the good thing is that when I see social media whispering that there's going to be a lockdown, I take heed and I go shopping and I join the long line because I listen. I listen to gossip.
You don't listen. You listen to idle talk. I listen to
idle talk, and I don't believe in that idle talk of don't listen to fake news, don't listen to social media. I listen and I discern. I have this gift of discernment, and I found truth into that lockdown rumor beforehand, and then I took note of the Minister of Tourism when he passionately and vehemently said that don't worry, that's idle rubbish. Utter rubbish is the word he used. When he used that word, utter rubbish, I said, Lord, we're going to have a lockdown. Moment he said that rumor
he said, wife, get in the car. Get the bags.
I said, let's go shopping.
Shop.
Draw off a couple $100 and let's go pack up the house.
Get everything.
Because the lockdown coming. Because moment I heard that, Mr. Diaglo, that I knew
utter rubbish.
Him, you know, when he said utter rubbish, I knew a lockdown was pending. I could have sworn it. I would have risked my hands.
That's discernment, Cecil. That is discernment.
I'm a good Baptist Anglican guy.
My God. Because mind you, when he said it, I said the man can't be wrong twice. You know?
I thought about that.
I was like, it was gambling, you know? It can't be this wrong.
Twice.
Right back to back. Right?
Yeah.
So because he was so strong the first time. He was strong and wrong the first time.
Passionate.
I said, this man can't be strong and wrong the second. This is Mr. Superwash. This is Mr. Diaglo.
And the tourism minister is very passionately emotive when he speaks. Yeah. So he was convincing them. But I had doubt. So I went shopping and I prepared. I was on the line for Super Value for about 2 hours waiting.
On Monday.
I stocked up, you know, just in case. And so I took note and listened and waited for the Prime Minister's announcement, press conference to the nation. And I listened to bated breath and listened and tried to discern more. So when he said lockdown, I assumed, and before I go there, Nahaj, I want to say this at this point. Whilst I was on the line at Super Value that day, I WhatsApp a friend and say, man, I hear there's going to be a lockdown. And she retorted that it cannot be a lockdown. I'm an essential service personnel. At least tomorrow I'll be able to go to the food store. Don't worry. I said, no, woman, you need to come and buy your stuff now. The angler says utter rubbish. That's a hint, right? And she said, no, I am sure that I have at least 24 hours before any lockdown. No one listens to a prophet. A prophet is not listened to in his own home.
Well, I don't know if they knew you were a prophet, Cecil. That's the first problem.
I was a prophet, a soothsayer, of lack of a better word. I was a soothsayer. And so moving on. So when the Prime Minister made that announcement, I thought about her and said, oh, Lord, she even didn't get water.
My God. My God.
So I understand the pain she went through.
Cecil, you couldn't even carry her no water.
No, I couldn't carry her.
You couldn't save her life.
I thought she was a good friend, and so I said, maybe if she called 311, perhaps she can get permission to come by my house to get a jug. But you know, it wasn't enough to share. That's only enough for the family.
That's only enough.
I want to say, here, you take that.
give her a pint. Let's give her a pint. Yeah. See how it works out.
It wouldn't have gotten through the 7 days, but at least for the 24 hours, she would have been straight.
CA,
right? Yeah.
That was crazy. Okay, so you hear it, and you are now sitting there like, boy, good thing I heard Diaglo. I listened when he said it was utter rubbish because the man was speaking in code. That meant it was totally going to happen, right? So you heard it in the realm of the spiritual, and you went shopping, my brother. You went shopping. And so when you heard the Prime Minister's speech, did any part surprise you? Because I know what surprised me. Effective immediately.
Yes, I was very concerned about that. And see, the consequences of that. I was concerned about the effective immediately and the consequences of that. And in law, right, they tell persons who are the lawyers who are asking questions, you don't ask questions you don't know, that you do not know already the answer to, right? So I assume that when the Prime Minister said effective immediately, he had dotted all his I's and crossed all his T's and spoke to the various partners that he has, right? The NGOs to say, well, y'all straight, y'all get the food ready, right? When I lock this down, I can need y'all to be behind my back to support my decision. I expected that had happened. I expected that he had spoken to cabinet. I expected that he spoken to the various ministries and like support staff to when this happened, that everything goes smoothly. And less than 24 hours later, we see that there were NGOs saying, well, we don't have any food. We use all of our supplies for Monday. And we anticipated that things would be open for Tuesday, that we can continue throughout the rest of the week. And we saw that did not happen. So it begs you to question whether the Prime Minister communicated to his social partners. his strategic partners in regards to all of this?
Let me say this. One of the things that I noticed right away that he could not have done so. When AML Foods decides right out of the gate, next day, we are going to feed our staff. We are going to open up our store to give 1,000 of our staff, all of our staff members, about 1,000 persons, I was told, the ability to buy grocery. And you know what that showed me? That they were frustrated and angry. And they said, we are not going to allow our people to be treated this way.
No. You can't. I hear you, no, Naja. I need to correct you. I need to correct you. I need to correct you, though, my good friend. I love you, but I can't let you say utter rubbish on the air. Only one person can open up food stores. And it's not AML.
Who is it?
It's a competent authority. So what you heard was a competent authority given permission to AML to open up
that's
stores.
What it was.
I want you to correct that. You can continue with your narrative.
Mind you, you're right. Let me correct it.
Yes, go ahead.
I will correct that just for the fact that that is what should be the protocol.
Yes.
That should be the protocol. And it was said that AML did get permission, right?
Yes.
I believe sometimes, though, companies that are so big in this country, they get permission after the fact. Right? And I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I say when you're a bully boy, sometimes you do what you do and the persons who work for you comply. But that's just me. That's my conspiracy theory. I got mine too. How come everybody else could have a Bill Gates playing conspiracy theory and I can't have mine?
I yield to you.
All right, then, thanks. Let me own my conspiracy theory. And mine is, at this point, there was no way he spoke to anyone of note or merit when he made this decision. There was who did he speak to? Because I know for a fact that when they sat in meetings with the health officials, there were quite a few health officials who did not agree with this tactic. So then... Hold
on. I don't agree with that either, my friend.
Why you don't? Why don't you? When I'm telling you what happened in the meeting.
We know there were health officials who were interviewed who hinted that a lockdown must happen.
Well, I didn't say all. I said there were some.
And there's one in particular.
And I will say,
gentleman in particular.
Don't mess with Dr. Brennan.
I call his name. You do that by yourself.
You called the twinkle in his eye. I saw you. I saw your face.
I saw his eye.
Yeah, he did have a gleam.
I
won't lie. He did have a gleam. Like he was hungry for it.
There you go.
He did have a look. But did he want an automatic shutdown?
But that's a different topic.
No. Because all of them wanted to shut down. All of them wanted us to be locked down. Did they all agree with this automatic, effective immediately? No. So here is the thing. Who is receiving counsel from? But that's here nor there. At this point, after that, yesterday was the fallout, which we knew would happen. I don't think anybody who was wise would think that persons who, and this is a vast majority of behemoths, did not have time to prepare. There are a lot of people, I didn't hear the voice notes, Cecil. I didn't hear the idle talk, right? Personally, I missed the idle talk. Now, my good common sense said, I don't trust when this man speaks. So I best prepare. That was just my good common sense. Like, I don't know what this brother's gonna say, but I should probably head out, grab a little something, just in case. But I still did not expect effective immediately. I really didn't. And there were still things I didn't get, but who wants to be in these crowds and on these lines for that long?
So Nahasha, may I ask you this?
Go ahead.
Is it the lockdown that concerned you or the effective immediately that concerned you most?
It was both. But the most was the effective immediately. It was both. I knew that the lockdown was coming based on conversations I had with officials. So for me, it was inevitable. I knew that was coming. Do I believe that they have a plan? No. Any sort of strategy outside of the week when the prime minister says foolishness like and after the week, we'll consult with professionals because at minimum it's a week. I don't play that. Just even say it out loud just upsets me. But I knew it was coming. So that part I knew was coming in that speech. What I did not see was the heartlessness of the prime minister who talks of, the man wasted 45 minutes on a Mother's Day concession speech in a national address.
That's the past. Don't judge people.
No, I judge. I got to judge the halo out of that because you know what? That didn't make no sense then. You do 45 minutes, but all this compassion about your mother in the bed, all of this story, I can't even remember. I fell asleep in that segment, had to come back and read it. Anyways, again, I digress. The fella, I'm sorry, let me try to keep.
Read it.
My prime minister decided in this speech that all of that full fake compassion that he was trying to muster, because it never felt genuine anyway. Who's
I
wrong
felt
on
it.
that law?
I
Huh?
felt it.
You lie. You know you ain't
Like I
seeing
say,
nothing.
I have the gift of discernment that you do
What
not
did you
have.
discern? Did you discern that he was going to turn on his mummy and
No,
lock her down immediately?
no.
She got her own, no, you say,
But I think that she was prepared. Stock up.
stocked
She
up.
has her own pantry.
I wonder who else was stocked up, but we
And
weren't.
that walk-in pantry, not the cupboard,
No, the walk-in ones.
the walk-in
The
one,
ones you could, the door so wide you could wheel in even
the
if you needed to.
panoramic one.
My God, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she has a pick 'em stick as well, you know,
Yes.
for things that are
Yes.
high up.
Mhm.
But the rest of us didn't. And I did not believe that my prime minister had that level of callousness and lack of compassion. And I'm sorry, I'm ring the bell, Cecil. I'm there. The national follow for me is ring the bell or make him resign. Where is Loretta when you need her? Can Loretta and the dynamic duo or 7-0, what do you call people, the seven septuplets? You call it septuplets? Let the septuplets rise up again, please. From the
Now,
ashes.
I hear you. I think you're too harsh with my prime minister.
Okay.
I still believe that my prime minister means well.
Yeah, what time is curfew tonight? What happens tonight,
I have
Cecil?
curfew canceled.
Okay, everything canceled then. So we
No,
can
everything
decide.
canceled. No,
Okay, so leadership is abandoned now. We
no,
have
no,
no
no, no, no.
leadership in
It's
this
just
pandemic.
postponed. It's postponed at this present time. I think curfew today is about 12 midnight.
We can't think that because it ain't true. We don't know that.
No?
No.
But I know the food store's closing late.
The food stores close at 9.
Yeah.
So
you give those people time to go home.
Right. So are we allowed to gather then at midnight? Are we back to that?
I don't know no more.
What exactly, Cecil? Where is, see, oh, for God's sake,
You judge people too harshly. You expect too much of a third world country.
You're right. You're right.
See, it makes sense now, right?
You're right.
If you look at us as a third world country, you don't expect much. And you say, man, we're doing well for a third world country.
But I'm not a third world human, Cecil. I don't think.
And like they said on Alice in Wonderland, I understand your problem. You believe this is a real place, you know, and you have a disconnect. So until you deal with that issue, you will always be unhappy. Always be unhappy.
God. Yeah. Yes, Lord. You know what? I feel you though. You might be onto something, my boy. I'm still going through the rabbit hole thinking that this place is a real place.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So what is the fallout? I was listening to my good friend Juan's show today, from yesterday to today. Juan's position is, as he has thought it through, his position is that the prime minister should be made to resign. What I hear today, which I've been saying a lot, Cecil, is that, listen, the prime minister's lost the trust and the air of the people to know what he's doing at this point. Those who still believe in him, I don't think they believe, they just support, right? It is going down with the ship. You got the Titanic and the band is the last to go. Okay. Anyways, with that said, do you believe that, because I've had this thought, right? This is a thinking that I've had. Do you think that the prime minister would be best to try and bring someone back who could speak to the people, who the people, even though they had issue with, might trust a little bit more?
See, Nahaja, first we need to analyze what is the problem and then come up with a solution to the problem. I think you're saying that the problem is a medical problem. I don't think that's a medical problem in terms of response. I think we have competent doctors who are there, right?
No,
so we know that it's not a medical issue.
I don't think it's a medical problem. I think it's a trust problem. It's a communication problem.
From communication and trust, right? We have no substitute competent authority. So there's no one to bring in. We always had just one, right? And that person creates and dictates the plan, the national plan moving forward, or this is what we plan to do. We have no substitute. There is no alternative. It is
but that can be changed.
Person.
No, can that not be changed? Is that a constitutional thing where it can't be changed?
And that's something we may have to have discussions on. Can there be a committee that becomes the competent authority instead of just one person, a board or such, where they conclude, and then maybe our prime minister, who is right now the de facto competent authority, is the mouthpiece of that committee, right? At this present time, it's not necessarily a lack of trust, it's a lack of understanding. I do not know how the prime minister concludes or come to a conclusion of his decision. You know, who do he speak to and say that there is going to be a national lockdown, right, effective immediately, and they hash out the idea. I don't know what happens. Who do we speak to in regards to coming up with a plan in terms on how they police and having COVID cars, having a COVID task force? I don't understand that plan, that they move from A and end up to Q. I do not know the transition. And perhaps that needs to be more transparent, that when the prime minister speak with authority and say, well, this is our decision, the official plan, that I understand that it went through a system or a series of events.
But at this point, see, if you're just tuning in, the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, CA and Yuri joining me for this first hour of the show. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll be bringing on Dr. Williams-Lockhart, who will be talking about how do we pretty much get ourselves right so that we can live next alongside COVID-19, not in fear of COVID-19. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. Here is the thing. Because the fallout of this whole situation is not that people are afraid or I believe that we as a people have felt the utter disrespect by this administration, in particular the prime minister, for 3 years, Cecil. There have been, when you have, they talk about microaggressions, but there have been betrayals. I remember the first major betrayal was the increase of VAT. That was not a part of the discussion when you started to lose trust with the Bahamian people. Then you had the BPL saga. People started to lose more trust. You had the Oban saga. We lost trust. This administration, and in particular, the most honorable Hubert Alexander Minnis, has not been a man of his word. Not from that point of not being a man of his word, he has shown that his judgment and that thing called justice is not fair or blind, for that matter, when it comes to his way of doing business. So there is no equity. There's no truth being doled out with regard to what is even-handed, right? So we can have members of parliament stand up against the VAT hike that you promised, you said was regressive, that you said was pretty much because there was no innovation or imagination of leadership. But as soon as you come in, you break an unspoken promise of reducing the burden of taxpayers on your backs. These are things that continue, but we stayed in the midst of, not happy, not willingly wanting to be a part of this train anymore, but knowing that we were all on this train together. You have something like Dorian, and we begin to trust that you are going to deal with this competently. Months into Dorian's fiasco and disaster, Cecil, you are still, people are questioning, where is the funds? How come Dorian, the recovery is moving so slow? We ask more about Dorian than we ask about Ragged Island. Ragged Island, he goes on the news to CBS to rave about solar panels when Ragged Islanders were asking for a school, but Ragged Islanders were asking for a clinic. They weren't asking for the solar panel yet, You made it an uninhabitable space. You wanted them to leave their hometown. You weren't planning on them coming back. So this prime minister, first of all, I've got to say it is the worst prime minister this country's ever seen. The worst. I will take that. I will put that in a laminated book. I will scan that digitally, put it in the cloud, and then I'm going to post it everywhere because I mean what I say and I say what I mean. This man is the worst prime minister this country's ever seen.
You will cause me to have to rebuke you on this goddamn radio.
Good thing you ain't saved, and I don't fear you but God, because you know you ain't touched by the Holy Spirit. Now that discernment you got was a sparse one. Anybody can get lucky once a week, especially when it's the prime minister giving a speech. Everybody in their mind will go find some food. I'm saying here that he has lost the capital, Cecil. He has lost every ounce of political capital. His words are not sure. He cannot be trusted as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if he's right now, even after a national falling of his stature on a silly, an unimaginable order. You still have to wake up the next day and man up.
Yes.
Okay? You still got to man up because the country still needs you. You still got 2 more years unless we say that's it. Because now I'm with one. Brother got to resign. I was just saying, let's call an election. I don't even have time for that. But who you gonna put there if he resign? That's a whole other story. But when we look at this situation here, he has lost the political capital to lead the people.
Definitely has. He has.
I do not trust him. And I think at this point, Cecil, there must be within the Free National Movement, its body politic, its electoral college, which they don't call themselves, their membership, and the men and women who are in the House of Assembly to grow a pair and decide today, because I'm sorry, when Loretta Butler did what she did, Dr. Minnis was able and effectively able to make himself look like the victim. But you know what he made us all look like? A bunch of JAs and a bunch of fools for believing that he was anything close to being capable to lead this country. He is proven to be incapable of leading a small nation, but had relatively easy challenges.
I agree with you, Nahaja, that our Prime Minister has lost political capital, right? There is now doubt in his words. There's now doubt on whether he is concerned in the general public, right? I acknowledge that and I accept that. I acknowledge that the FNM party has some thinking to do. I'm still surprised that the FNM chairman has not come out as yet and utter a word, any official word about the party in defense of the Prime Minister or defense of the party in general. But in these 2 years that will have to transpire before a general election, the party itself will have to make some decisions on whether it is worth having our Prime Minister as the captain, or whether we need to have another captain to move and sail this ship moving forward. What I'm very much concerned with is that because the Prime Minister seemingly flip-flop, there are now persons who have gained momentum and have created and crafted a conspiracy story that they have impacted the Prime Minister and his decision. And now these people are emboldened to challenge our good Prime Minister to his face. And I have a problem with that, right? The Prime Minister has authority to himself. But when you have wishy-washy people, right, to have the audacity to challenge my Prime Minister and say that I caused him to change his mind.
Who said this? Who said this? I missed that. Who said that they caused him?
Those wannabe politicians who outside there protested.
The others who are,
the 12 people who protested, you know, who claimed that there would have been tens of thousands of people if there wasn't a lockdown. Those 12 people.
Don't worry about that. Those people had an effect too. Don't sleep. Those people had an effect.
And to know that they were arrested, right? Which I was cool with. But to see that people in the inner city then joined forces and created their own protests, created their own momentum, their own movement, and start throwing missiles at the police. Williams don't throw missiles at the police. The police have guns, and these police shoot. They're like the American ones would have people investigating. You know, we have a police force would have the confidence of the COP, right? If there's a shooting, it's warranted. And to see that we have decent, law-abiding Bahamians who became so frustrated by the Prime Minister's decision, and that pockets of them decided to act out, decided to risk themselves, to risk their freedom, decided to protest, decided to say, man, I hurt, decided to cry out. You know, I saw one where the lady began to cry and tears began to trickle down my eyes and say, oh Lord, this woman frustrated, right? They had the stories of middle-class people that said, I don't have no Pampers for my child, and I have money. You know what it is that you have money and made money have no value at that point in time. When the lockdown happened, if you had $20,000 It didn't matter. It didn't matter because the food stores closed.
Yep. Then
You
there's no
can
one to
buy
serve you.
anything.
Your currency was of no value, and that's what
He devalued the Bahamian dollar at that point.
He valued the Bahamian dollar and the Bahamian people in that swipe. Yes. That's what he did. And my point is, look here, man. We've had a minister resign from his post because he felt he was doing the moral thing, though it was perhaps not legally right. So the moral right versus the legal right, or the ethical right. You know, I remember saying it, phrasing it much better than that. And his argument, Dr. Dwayne Sands' argument was that, listen, we needed those swabs. We needed those. If I have to trade two people who were allegedly two, and that's what he thought. He says his stands on the fact that he was certain that he was told it was two people, not six. Okay. And the question is, who told him to? Right? All right, then. Who told and lied to the good minister too? And who did he take it up to? Not as high as the prime minister, based on the prime minister's response. But that he resigned after being told at some point it's okay, and then later, no, I need you to resign. So he was forced to resign, right? That's fine. That happened. But we have had many men and women switch. We had two men switch sides from the Free National Movement to independent. We've had a junior minister be reprimanded but given his job back. We've got another one who didn't switch sides, and Freddie McAlpine. He also lost his position. We've had a consulate officer, who brought in 4 people off a manifest, and they were COVID positive, or later deemed, I think they were still determined that they tested positive. And long story short, my point in all of that is the prime minister pick and chooses righteousness, what is good and what is bad, who he lets slide and who he doesn't let slide. At this point, if we're talking about a qualified Westminster system, it is incumbent on the other members of parliament, the cabinet ministers, to be members of a Westminster system, to be equals to this prime minister, to be men and women, and determine right now that if you cannot speak to the people, Cecil, in a national crisis, this is not a made up thing. This is a real thing. It is affecting the world. The country needs to get back to business. Unfortunately, our main business has been tourism. So right away, we need to get thousands of people back to work in an industry that can work right away. We need to get that business working. We need to start marketing as if the United States doesn't exist. That's what tourism is supposed to do. That's what they get paid money for, right? We need to move forward. Can we move forward with a prime minister whom the people do not trust?
Yes, we can, and we must. We must build confidence, right? And how do you build
confidence?
I'll create a narrative for you, right? The prime minister needs to fire 1 or 2 people.
No, they need to fire him.
No. See, you just anti my prime minister. I don't like it. Like I said, you caused me to rebuke you.
What your constituency is? Who you vote for, Fred Mitchell?
But that's a different matter altogether.
You know who I vote for? Human Alexander Minnis. He got to go. I would fire myself. If I could go back in that booth, I would slap myself 4 times.
So it's you.
Heard around. It was me.
It was you.
I am the problem.
And now you could have voted for the
and I'll vote for Kumalafi and Minnis. Let me go back in time. Someone Bill and Ted's, give me that phone booth. Come.
Yeah. It's you.
Yeah. But you said we're going to build confidence.
It ain't
How
me.
do we build confidence?
It ain't me. It's you.
Yeah. Well, I just know he is my prime minister.
Yes, our prime minister, and worthy of respect, even though we do jokes and antics and whatever it is. But the prime minister needs to reevaluate his team and create a team around him. See, the mistake he made has already happened, right?
Hold on, I need people to see my facial expression. What?
The mistake he had made has already happened. So now it's a response to the mistake, right? And the response is creating a team around him. It's similar to what he did for the general elections. He needs to create a team around him. So when
he sell a lie, that's what we want. We want another team to sell a lie. That's what we want. The lie that was sold the people's time. That's the only thing this team can do. Hold on, man, Cecil. No. We'll select and come again. But Okay, we've been asking, and I am no longer there, Cecil, when we have people say, who is advising the prime minister? How many communications people this prime minister has hired since he's been here? Huh? How many?
Clearly, they're not adequate.
No,
They're not doing their job.
clearly he's not taking advice. Clearly, he's a one-man band. How many members of parliament, how many cabinet ministers knew what he was planning on doing that night? Yeah?
I think a minimum amount of people knew that he was going to lock it down.
It surely wasn't the one who said it was rubbish. Eh?
No.
Okay? Surely wasn't that guy.
He's not a part of the clique.
Well, and I wonder why.
No.
Are wash houses open? Anyways, you go ahead. I got people who need to wash.
Yeah. Wash houses need to open, by the way.
And they need to open.
And my neighbor complaining, and I'm kind of concerned because she's outside this bucket thing and they ain't working. You know, her back door faces my back door, and I come outside and say, "Oh Lord." So
it's a friendly reminder community. Yeah, we need the wash house open though.
Yeah,
seriously, there are a lot of people who need to do laundry, and it's really an essential service. So I mean, I don't know if it was personal, but these wash houses need to open.
But it's moving forward though, Nahaja, and it's incumbent upon you and I, and incumbent upon the Bahamian people to assist our prime minister. Clearly, our prime minister needs our support. Clearly, our prime minister needs our assistance and our help, and giving him ideas. And I know he's mentioned and has inquired for us to give ideas, and something is not working, right? So now it's incumbent upon us now to facilitate and to help us through this health crisis and through this economic storm we're about to that we're experiencing. This general election is going to happen betwixt the worst economic downfall the Bahamas has ever experienced, right? I have no confidence that the Bahamas will be able to open up come November. I have no confidence. If it does, I will celebrate and I will move forward and be happy for it. But I don't have that confidence. I think this economic downturn will last until March, April of 2021, and there'll be a slow crawl after that. I think that right now we're experiencing the good times. I think that people are complaining about this 150 that the government is given for persons who are unemployed. I think that is a great amount because it may have to be lowered moving forward, right? I think that ability to pay civil servants at this present time is a good thing because in the future, I believe that some of the salaries may have to be slashed. One or two people may have to be let go. I believe that we are about to go, we are on the cusp of a crisis so drastic that it will take all of us to come together to keep the Bahamas afloat. We need people to now get buckets to bail out the water from the sinking ship, right? Our ship is in a storm and is weathered, and all hands need to be on deck. So the complaining ain't helping us right now, right?
No.
Clearly, the prime minister needed to reach out to the oppositions, the DNA, the PLP, and even the small factions, right? And say, send your best people forward. Send your economic council. Send your medical professionals, right? Let them liaison with my people that whatever we decide, we know that this is a national effort. The narrative of you versus me continues, right? I know that we are in a political season, election season, and that politics will always be in it, and fighting that is impossible. But there now needs to be a conscientious effort now of everyone, of the government, of the prime minister in particular, to reach out across across the aisle and say, I need help. I need help, and I welcome the help because it's bigger than me. It's about us and the survivability of the Bahamian people. And I will do whatever it takes. I will face the humility. I will face the criticism. I will face the knocks and the licks and take it and take it knowing that I am working towards keeping the Bahamas afloat. So if he needs to ask Mr. Philip Brave Davis for help, let him ask and sit down to the table and wrestle over some solutions. And I think that's the way forward.
This is okay. I hear you. And a part of me definitely sees where that is viable. You know, I will be honest with you, Cecil, that the capital is completely gone from me. Completely? The capital is completely gone from me.
But you were tolerant for a while though.
Yeah, but it was I completely gone. I mean, I was
One lockdown?
I supported the first lockdown. I think many of us bought in. We did what we needed to do. And it hurt then, but it was a necessary adjustment. And it was pretty much close to the beginning when we were still stretching funds, but we weren't in this critical mass position. Also promised in that time were ideas, plans, strategies that would be a part of our economic, um, not revival. Nobody thought it was going to be that get quick, rich quick kind of scheme, but something that would keep us afloat. And one of the things that has happened during this process, which I think is a lot to do with political sycophants, with people just not being empathetic. But what has happened during this process is that a divide has been created in our country, a divide between those who are just going to say, listen, Bahamians are just unruly, we complain too much, da da da, lock everybody down, right? That lock everybody down spirit to me doesn't connect with the effects of locking people down who don't have the resources. I go to this thinking VAT is a burdensome tax, but for some it is more burdensome than others. For me, if a dollar feels like a dollar, because that's my margin of biggest bill I ever carry in my wallet on any time of the day is a $50 bill. That $1 bill, when 15% is taken out of that, it breaks my heart. My purchasing power is limited. For someone who has on any given day, $100, $200, $300, that 15% affects them differently than the $50 holder. Their real purchasing power, it changes, right? I'm not broke when I spend my $50 in the store because I can go higher than $50. I can go to $100. I can get grocery that's enough for my household. When you take VAT out, I feel it, but it ain't killing me. A $50 person, when they take it out, it killing them. Plus, they still ain't getting all that they used to get. So the purchasing power is decreased. Then there are people who have in their wallet on a given day or access to on a given day, they could go to a car lot and buy a car cash. On a given day, they probably got $1,000 just sitting around or loose change that is in the hundreds of dollars just sitting around in the house. That's a different level. My point is, certain measures affect people differently. It affects people differently. A lockdown will affect me differently than a single mother who's just gotten laid off. That will affect her differently. A father who looks at his children and knows he has to hustle, a lockdown affects him differently. Men can always say, I could go out and hustle. Men believe that. You lock them down, they can't hustle. They can't find a way to make a dollar work, to get a dollar for using their labor. So that affects people differently. All I'm saying here is we have a national crisis. A national crisis needs voices and ideas, strategies that will give us confidence as a people that we will get through it to increase buy-in. You are not going to get the buy-in. Now the conspiracy theories, now the anti-vaxxers, now the persons who believe that this is a hoax and whatnot, they are gaining ground and traction. Now people are looking at the numbers. Well, not everybody's getting sick. Well, we could have herd immunity. Some people just got to die. This is now becoming the narrative, okay? And the problem with that is there are multiple storylines, and the prime minister or the competent authority's voice is no longer the foremost voice. It is no longer a trusted voice. I need other options. In a national crisis, Cecil, at this point, you've got to grab a hold of the steering wheel before we can go anywhere. And this is not happening.
Nahaja, I want to interject. Remember during the election time, you and I conversed about the non-sexiness or sexiness of the prime minister, where he removed himself from media. He accepted no interviews. He didn't speak anymore. What did the prime minister do to get momentum? He found sexy, in quotes, people to put in the forefront. Clearly, his next step is now to, again, what I mentioned before, create a team, a team of social scientists, a team of economic experts, a team of business persons who can feel like theirs to have the Bahamian people conversing amongst themselves. Right now, we're home, locked down, idle. The only thing we're able to do is analyze everything and pick apart everything that the Prime Minister says, right? So we have a lot of time, right? Yesterday, when we were locked down, we had time to analyze everything. We had time to be vets. We had time to blog. We had time to post. We had time to vent. I assume the Prime Minister had copious amount of critique and criticism. If people had his WhatsApp number, our Prime Minister got WhatsApp a lot, right? And complaint. I heard the cries of white Bahamians. I heard the cries of middle-income Bahamians. I even heard the cry of I wouldn't say wealthy, but definitely middle-class Bahamians who have more than enough money to buy a boat, complain that they weren't ready. They could survive, but they weren't ready. And this turned the tail of who the Prime Minister is and who the Prime Minister represents, especially when his own people start crying out and saying, my Prime Minister, you're being unfair and you do not like me anymore. I hurt, and they cry out. So definitely the narrative has changed. Definitely there's a crack within the FNM. Definitely there is a distrust for the Prime Minister where he stands at this present time, and his political clout has been tarnished a bit. And so he is now in the frame of mind to recreate, to restructure.
And he has to.
And it definitely has to. Now the question is, how does he do that?
There you go. And that's where I was suggesting, maybe, do you think that is wise? And I want folks to text in or call in and let me know. What do you think should be the Prime Minister's next move?
Yes.
What should be the competent authorities' next move? What should be, are you for the resignation? And then what? Right?
Prime Minister ain't going nowhere. Stop it.
Listen, they need to do something. And someone said constitutionally, he cannot resign. Well, he can resign, but if to be removed, if he's to be removed, it has to be by an early election. So, man, listen, at this point, for God's sake. And you know, it leads me to wonder, if we call an election, who are we thinking is supposed to win? That's a whole other kettle of fish, because I ain't ready either. I'm not ready. That's a whole other kettle of fish. You're listening. Go ahead.
You can't call no election yet. We have to get this COVID situation.
You can't call it now.
No, because I don't want to be on no line with no COVID people.
But listen, you know we ain't gonna be digital for that. We can't get INIB straight. Oh my God. And plus,
we know we having people now breaking into our computer systems. What that person place is again?
A registrar office. And then on top of that, it's very hot. And in order to take these photos, I need to put on sleeves. I mean, my God. And with the wash house closed, I'm gonna have to wear my dirty clothes.
Yep.
I ain't talking for me, you know. Why wash and dry working? Look at God, won't he do? You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. When we come back, we're gonna have a little bit more with CA Nuri. Don't go anywhere, CA. And we will have our doctor joining us a little later in the show. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We'll be back right after this.
It's the beginning of the hurricane season, and Fidelity Bank is giving you one less thing to worry about. We're not able to control a storm or its path, but we can prepare for it as much as possible. With every debt consolidation loan, Fidelity is giving away fully loaded hurricane kits valued at $200 with all the hurricane essentials you'll need to weather the unexpected storms of life. It's that easy. Sign up for a debt consolidation loan, open an ASUS savings or fixed deposit, and walk away with a free hurricane kit. At Fidelity, we're committed to helping you through these difficult times. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Jen and Jason are prepping for the hurricane season at home. Is their insurance enough? They messaged their Massey United Insurance rep to have a chat. Recent renovations increased their property value. They were underinsured. Now their coverage is updated. Be Massey United Insurance ready this hurricane season. Call RMS Insurance Agents and Brokers at 698-7233. Shield Insurance Agents and Brokers at 356-7202 or Freeport Insurance Agents and Brokers at 352-8501 to learn more.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
You're listening to the Guardian News Network. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Taylor Ferguson. Here's what's making news. Thank you so much for tuning in. The National Emergency Management Agency is closely monitoring a weather disturbance. It's projected to threaten the Bahamas within the coming days. Director of the Bahamas Department of Meteorology, Trevor Baisden, says computer models presently indicate the system is to eventually move into the Bahamas by Sunday, with the likelihood of it strengthening into a hurricane as it passes through our islands. Well, the Office of the Prime Minister announced today commercial banks, insurance companies, and brokers and agents are permitted to operate from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. as needed to allow residents to make necessary preparations for that developing weather system. In the first day of a 7-day lockdown and before the competent authority reversed course on the lockdown, Warwick Paradise Island revealed on its social media feeds that it has made the decision to close indefinitely. The resort also revealed in its post it will not accept nightly and day pass reservations for the duration of the lockdown period and continuing to August 31st. Warwick was one of the only resorts that remained open on Paradise Island when the country reopened to visitors at the beginning of July, and which remained open after further restrictions were placed on anyone coming into the Bahamas. Well, despite tens of thousands of Bahamians still unemployed due to lockdown measures amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest said government cannot request to lending institutions and insurance companies an extension of the payment deferral programs that were implemented during the first lockdown period. Noting government has communicated with financial institutions to be lenient with borrowers and policyholders, the Finance Minister said it's not their fault. That's what's making news. I'm Taylor Ferguson. Thank you for tuning in. AP News is coming up next.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Coronavirus update. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The teachers union in Florida is heading to court in an effort to block schools from reopening. The state's death toll has passed 10,000 as an additional 4,100 cases were reported today, bringing the state's total to 584,000 cases. New York City's teachers union is demanding a comprehensive testing system before anyone sets foot inside a classroom. United Federation of Teachers Union President Michael Mulgrew says schools should not open unless all staff and students test negative for COVID-19 or test positive for antibodies within 2 months of entering the buildings.
Every single person, both adult and child, who is to enter a New York City public school must have evidence that they do not have the COVID virus.
Mayor Bill de Blasio said back in the spring, his goal is to have students back in September with as much classroom time as possible. I'm Tim McGuire.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. My good friend C.A. Nuri in studio. We got some text messages. Here we have it. Okay. You complained during the lockdown. Now the lockdown is lifted. You're complaining. How am I complaining that the lockdown is lifted? I'm not complaining that the lockdown is lifted. How would I complain that the lockdown is lifted? I'm complaining now that, okay, we've lifted it, which was great. I didn't have a problem. Okay, so let me make sure it's clear. I didn't have a problem, which I knew was going to happen. I knew the lockdown was going to happen. I spoke to medical professionals. I had a good idea. Listen, at this point, you have to grab it before it just loses its mind and its space. We have to regain control. So that I expected. And I think that unfortunately, it may be the best course of action, because I do not want this to be a thing where we are talking about some folks, this is just, the luck of the draw. I personally don't want my mother to be a part of the luck of the draw. So I'm not interested in this herd immunity thing. And my mother believes she's woman, you see. Well, she is, but someone should tell the 74-year-old woman where she go in the like 14 times a day. I feel like I should take a car away, but she would kill me. Mm-hmm. So I understand that I trust that who else am I going to trust at this time? And I trust our physicians. I have an issue with their zeal for all this locking down, because they will lock down in perpetuity. They will go through every time there's a spike, there's a lockdown.
Yes.
Leadership comes in when we have full information, where the prime minister has to look at all of it and then says, okay, but when we're looking at the economy, can the economy take another lockdown? How do we work alongside this process? What happens after the 7 days? Can you give me definite numbers on what you think, or probability causes on what you think a full lockdown will accomplish? When you say what this full lockdown will accomplish, is it worth it to go through it if it doesn't accomplish what we're anticipating? Show me the data from other countries who've done a full lockdown at this type of spike in their progress, in their process. We are a country of less than 400,000 people based on Wikipedia's numbers, right? So there must be data somewhere for us, a data set that we can then make real viable decisions. In that same room with the medical professionals, because this is a war room. A war room has to be created, because this is a war on a national crisis called COVID, a global crisis, but in particular for the Bahamas, the COVID-19, right? And I said the COVID, I sounded like Trump, COVID-19. This war room should have the medical professional who will speak to the prime minister after gathering all of the information from the rest of the medical professionals. So the head of that COVID task force team. Also in that room should be our head economist, and then the financier who's looking at the budget, the accountant who says what is viable, how long can we last, the economist who looks at it, the tourism arm that is saying, okay, we have looked at this, these are the areas where we can go to and through. Do we need Bahamas Air to be in that conversation? I don't know. Then we have to look at local industry. What is immigration, agriculture and fisheries? How are they going? This is a war room. The war room with all of this intellectual prowess that may not just be ministers who are new to this game, but Bahamians from across the sphere, regardless of how they offended you, but you know that they're qualified, bring them into the room. So that after this 1 week lockdown, you know what you tell people during that speech? After 7 days, not first of all, and then again, I never agreed with the immediate. Effective immediate was dumb. It was the coolest thing that was ever done to the people. I have to pray so that it can be forgivable. But right now, I'm still in my feelings for that on what is done to people. But at the end of that 7 days, what the prime minister was supposed to say in that speech is that at the end of the 7 days, it is not, I'm going to talk to the medical professionals to see if we need to do this again. Because what now? Are you serious? These people only will get, that's 4 weeks then, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you say at the end of the week, based on the discussion, because this is not something we take lightly. This locking you down, we understand the ramifications mentally. This is the last resort. This last resort means that I know I'm going through the darkness, but we're going to come out through to the light. I know we're going into a tough time, but I see a way clear. Cecil, I am going to trust the man who takes me into the forest, who's been in the forest and has spoken at minimum to someone who knows how to get to the other side. If you ain't the one who know how to get to the other side in that dusty forest to see the way clear, then I need to find somebody who can. That's the prime minister's job. That's his accounting. He needed to tell us at the end of 7 days, at this time, what are we going to do? Not to listen just to the professionals and see if we need to do this again, but we will not have to do this again because we are going to, based on these numbers, I understand what is going to have to be done. Also, we're going to bring all of the health professionals who can tell us more about this virus and how we can protect ourselves, our immune system. Is there a way that we can be better? Of course, we have to continue to socially distance. Of course, we must continue to wear our masks. This is for your mother. This is for your father. This is for your children. Then invite the press. Tell them, put on your PPEs. I need you to see the ventilators. I need you to see the sick and shut in who are finding their lives lost. We need to tell a better story. What is BIS doing that is not telling the story? Isn't that the government's arm of storytelling? Instead of ZNS cutting staff, they should be leading the charge on media with exclusives. This is, to me, you've got to be a holistic approach to dealing with this. And you know, I don't know if I'm asking for too much. I'm asking for too much, obviously, Cecil. I'm asking for too much, and therefore, I could complain when they.
Your first mistake is believing that there is a war room, a COVID war room. There exists none. There is the prime minister, then you have the medical professionals, right? And you can see that at the press conference. At the press conference, you see nobody else, you know. So you cannot assume that there's a whole team behind the scenes.
We haven't heard from the Minister of Finance in a long time.
Yeah, we can assume that someone is definitely writing the prime minister's speech, right? Because we just know that it's not his words, right? He just read off right there. He put his input in, of course, but I mean, we know we have professionals who write these things. So he's being advised by people, and we are finding that we're not getting any new information. We're not getting any inspirational information. We're not getting any pertinent information that we can alter our style of living. It's the same narrative: wash your hands, social distance, stay home, what they say, shelter in place. We knew that from the beginning, right? There's no new information about what will happen when school opens. There's no new information what could happen in individual economies, island economies. There's no new information about the local economy and how they plan to expand. So we are waiting on that. So every time we see the prime minister come and he rehashes the old information again, and then you couple that, you see that the numbers are spiking and we don't understand why. And then you realize that we are 2 weeks behind on the data. And then we know that he is locking us down on 2 weeks data and the numbers keep on spiking. So you have that fear that it's not going to be a 7-day lockdown, but it could be a 2 week, 4 weeks, right? And then there's no active plan on, like what you mentioned already, on what to do next. What is the alternative? So back to what I initially stated to you, we need to give our prime minister some ideas. We know that he's doing things wrongly. We know that. I acknowledge that. I yield. I won't belabor that anymore. My thing is, I'm begging you now, and I'm begging persons who are listening, what else do we expect the prime minister should be doing at this present time? What type of information that you want to hear, right?
Well, I mean, I just said something.
If you're tired or you are fatigued of hearing the prime minister's voice, who do you wish to hear on the national platform where the prime minister say, okay, I'll let this person say their plan and team, and I support that.
But we have a caller on the line. Caller, if you're still there, welcome. You're on the hit back.
Hello, Nahaja.
How are you?
First time caller.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, me, Nahaja, I just want to let the Bahamians them know I'm a stolen African from out of Africa living in the European system. And we collected a lot of this Christianity doctrine and we forgot our own story. So what I'm saying right now, we're losing track of the whole story right now because we get the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. We need John Pender to come on the show and explain why these people who was laid off from March not receive their termination package so they could have money to buy food.
Yep. No, listen, that's a question for folks. Why haven't they gotten their termination package?
See, and there's only about two companies you can actually render that, and I assume that he means hotel. There's nobody wants to be fired at this present time, and I'm not sure that what the big particular hotel can afford to lay off 20% of their staff at this present time. You know, that might set back that company a while back to let go so many people, especially people who've been there for 20, 30 years, right? is unfortunate what is happening.
But that leaves people in limbo. Definitely leaves people in limbo.
But the goal is that if the economy opens up, they plan to be rehired.
Right.
Now,
are hotel folks who are still in that limbo, in that space, are they getting national insurance assistance?
I didn't hear the question.
Are folks in that limbo or in that space, are they still getting national insurance assistance?
Well, the term national insurance is a loose word, because we borrowed money, and it's a private money that the government is now given hoteliers or hotel workers, right?
But it's coming through NIV, so I guess.
So everyone inside the hotel industry who got laid off since March, who has finished their NIB unemployment benefits, is now receiving that $150. I see that the Warwick Hotel just closed their doors. So I assume that those persons now will reapply to get whatever monies is due to them. It's more likely their unemployment package is already terminated too. So they'll now go on to this $150 process. That
all right. We have some text messages. Mrs. Black, the only person we can trust would be Miriam Emanuel. That's the minister, right? That's
That's my Acklands lady. She's a good, decent lady from Acklands.
Got it. When she spoke about the electorate, yeah, I remember.
Yes.
Mrs. Black, no more excuses for them. Please resign, Mr. PM. Someone else says, no confidence in the Prime Minister. Bring back LBT. The Bahamas wants LBT. I need to see if I can get Madam Butler Turner on the show. This might be a firestorm time for her not to come on, eh?
Can you imagine?
Man, listen, I'm going to try. CA.
But she needs to get a nomination first, right?
Yeah, man. She can form her own body, man.
She can start her own body?
Man, Loretta could start her own body. If Loretta Butler Turner today decided she wanted to run again, Lord, I feel for
in
my
Long
sister
Island?
Man, I don't care where she decided to go.
You think she could beat the MP for Long Island, Adrian Gibson?
Is it that they're loyal to FNM? So they just because we don't like the party thing. We get rid of everybody when we're trying to get rid of the leader. I think this is the one time too, in a note that if they get rid of Minnis and put someone else there, Dr. Minnis, and put someone else there, they might have an opportunity, depending on who they put there as leader of the party, to salvage something. This isn't like when Perry Christie needed to get rid of members of parliament. Like I believe if we'd gotten rid of Fitzgerald and a few other members of parliament, that he might have had a chance to keep his seat. I don't know if he's going to, and it wouldn't have been a landslide.
Yep.
But I think Dr. Minnis, maybe he might be the weakest link. Not maybe, he is the weakest link of his
at this present time.
But Loretta Butler Turner, I guarantee you, if Loretta Butler Turner jumps up and says, I want to run and I'm going to form my own political party, Loretta Butler Turner will get all the woman's dem, not all, a good crew with a woman's dem. She'll get some fellas who are strong, who will jump on her ship, and Loretta Butler Turner will have a strong party. You think Dwayne would walk across the aisle again to Loretta?
No. He learned from the last time.
Did he learn?
Dr. Stein is a smart gentleman.
He's sitting outside now.
And the fact, even despite the fact that he was the only one to go on that stage and support his friend, he knew better than the supporter when it counted. He said, let those other 12 go. I know better. I know better. So he ain't doing that no more.
Yeah, you might be right. Someone says, calling LBT for what? What has she done before that should make her an option? I'm tired of these has-beens who haven't done anything. Well, I guess I was wrong. Someone said,
you were wrong.
No. I feel like I could be onto something here. I be onto something. I still think Kumalafe is a good viable option.
I think she is. And I think there are a number of Bahamians who are considering her. It all depends on what type of team she's able to bring forward.
That's the only challenge, eh?
Yeah.
This team. If she's able to get a strong team behind her, I think Kumalafe has a great chance if she can get this team. And
she has a good chance as an individual. But that's it.
You think she can win her constituency?
Against Minnis?
No.
Minnis
I don't think so. Mind you, Kalani, there are a lot of people in Kalani who are upset with Minnis too. I got a lot of Kalani folk. Now in my neighborhood, there's some strong Minnis folk, right? And,
okay.
Yeah, but my community chat group seems to be moving away.
Slowly, like molasses.
Not that slow.
No, okay.
Like syrup, maple.
Syrup.
All right. So we have another texter here. It says, it has been it has been proven based on data that lockdowns do not work. Why are we still talking about lockdowns? Cecil, people have an issue with you today. CA is living in la la land. Once you lose trust in someone, you never get it back. Even if you forgive them, you never trust them again. Nahaja, you are spot on. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. The Prime Minister has lost all of his credibility to me for too many of the words that he's spoken that were true. All right? Where is the OBAN document out of the Best Commission?
He's still looking for that. If you have an investigation pending.
Man, listen, don't forget, he went ahead and went into and gazetted that he took the Best Commission from the Minister of Environment during this OBAN deal. You remember that?
Yes.
All right, okay. And now the files are missing. I'm not saying he stole them, of course.
No, we're investigating that. We still want to find that file.
We're investigating the independent audit of BPL. Yeah?
We still won't find that too.
Yeah, and we're getting sued for that as well. Yeah. We were told about that it wasn't gonna happen when he was outside, inside, whoop, there it is. We was gonna be, remember the balanced budget in 3 years?
Yeah.
You remember that?
I'm starting to believe, Nahaja, that you're trying to build a case.
Yeah, no, it's a solid one. I can keep going.
I'm watching you. I'm just letting you know that I'm watching you.
You remember when he let the guy sign someone else's name and then presented this other document in the House of Assembly? Ooh, there it is.
I'm watching you, Nahaja.
Yeah. Oh, do you know that he went ahead and let Reese Chipman call this special accounts committee, but then Michael Foltz went in and did the unthinkable and stole the leadership of this natural resource committee from him?
Interesting. I'm watching this narrative.
Yeah. Oh, listen, this narrative is strong, my boy.
Yeah.
Narrative is strong. Someone's, okay, I got a lot of text, so let me see if I can get to as many of them. Hello, let the Prime Minister stay, but he must make amends. Make every citizen debt-free within good reason. Oh, that's powerful.
That's powerful.
That's powerful. Make us debt-free. That's powerful. I don't know what to say then. Then get wise counsel, DNA, KGM, PLP, etc. Someone says it's been good day. What planet does your guest live on? Clearly, he doesn't understand the Bahamian people. We need competent leaders who we can trust. CA, the challenge is the PM appears not to want to take wise counsel. He is getting it, but he doesn't take it. That's a real thing, Cecil. That's a real thing.
That's subjective, though. Right?
No, that is subjective. That's
subjective, Nahaja.
People got issues, have had issues, had and are having issues. Members of Parliament with the competent authorities moves with big deals, and then being told you got to sign it in the House of Assembly. You got to support it.
If his fellow parliamentarians were not happy with him, they would have make a move of a vote of no confidence. That will not happen. They approve of what the Prime Minister is doing right now. Not one FDM member of Parliament would ever raise their mouth.
No one cabinet, not cabinet. You know who I haven't heard from, and I'm hoping I get him next week. Pastor Frederick McAlpine. I wonder what Pastor McAlpine has to say. He's still in F&M. He's still in F&M. And I haven't heard from Dwayne Sands on this either. He's still in F&M and a backbencher. It's good now. He's as a backbencher. Mrs. Black, can you please look into why the okay. Oh, I look into that one. The PM, Marvin Dames, police commissioner, and the medical advisory team, except Nikia Forbes, needs to resign.
They want everybody to resign.
Except for Dr. Forbes. Dr. Forbes is legit. They need to open the beaches. That's what they once said.
I agree with that.
So someone says your guess makes no sense. He thinks the Bahamas should be held hostage to dysfunction. No. Kumalafe, where is she though? I haven't heard her in a while.
She made a couple of press releases on social media of late.
Yeah, and it was a good one.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think Bahamians need to entertain and listen to what she's saying and analyze it to see if she's somebody to consider.
Do we have I think we have another caller on the line. Arlie, is he still there? Caller, you're on the hit back.
Hi, pleasant good afternoon, Nahaja, and good afternoon, Cecil.
Good afternoon.
Doing well, and your families. You know, Dr. Minnis appointed the ERC, right? And they are supposed to meet when? Next month, September.
Yeah, end of not meet, but they will have the document. We were told by the acting financial secretary that by the end of next month, the latest, that it will be submitted to the Prime Minister.
So, Ms. Black, so what is that telling us? that we're going to be in this thing. Whatever solutions that they would have come in will take another 6 months before they implement, right?
Man, it seems so, unless there's some ready-made solution in there.
But you know what? You know, Levon, whatever he is. You know, he on one of the shows, he said that we are paying these guys, and all of them should be on a lockdown. If whether they have to zoom in or zoom out or whatever it is.
Yes, we should have something by now.
They're locked in with these, you know, all of the stakeholders. We have the Chamber of Commerce and all the business stakeholders, and they come up with credible things to do in order to fix this problem, man. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, Dr. Forbes is your girl, right? But I would thought that as young, you know, those people like Dr. Brennan, these are young people. Everything that I hear from them is the same thing. Oh, we got to social distance. We've got to practice things. Several times they were asked about certain drugs and different things. And it's like, we haven't gotten the message that we are free now. We don't have to wait on WHO, that we don't have to wait on this one to tell us that we can try different things. You know, Mrs. Malcolm had on the show this morning that there are other things other than what you're doing. There are other countries who are almost virus-free, and yet we are sitting down waiting for the master to tell us when to move, when to try this, or this is going to work. When are we going to become innovators? When are we going to learn to solve our own problems instead of waiting on who, what, where, and when? You know, this is our COVID-19. Yes, it's the world problem. But right now, it is the Bahamas' problem. It's our problem. And all of the answers that we seek, they're already within us. We got some smart people in this country, man.
Yes. Listen, my brother.
And figure this thing out. Because this lockdown thing, this ain't working.
It's
not
not.
Down for a couple of days, and then the people go out. And another thing, you say that you're not going to do no mask then because that's a waste of resources. It's Black. Obviously, this thing is being spread by people who are asymptomatic. So
who said that they're not going to do masks because it's a waste of resources?
You know, but that is what they say.
Well, okay, I have to get this other text and call.
And go there and intentionally spread it to people. So you have to treat everybody as a suspect until you eliminated who has it and who doesn't have it. Otherwise,
thank you, my brother. I appreciate the call. I need to get to some of these texts here, and before I go, says no one is waiting on WHO or PAHO, but we don't have the funds to buy medicine and drugs on the free market, so we buy it at a discount from them. Someone says it's just baffling. It's just baffling. It's like these people never took a grade 10 administration class. Nothing is organized. Every press conference we should hear from health, national security, finance, agriculture. We need a well-rounded approach to this, not dictatorship. And we said this earlier. Yes. There must be a war. There must be a war room where there are balanced discussions, pushback on the health. If I'm in a room and the health officials keep talking lockdown, I'm saying, okay, but hold on. How is this affecting the economy? When we talk about this lockdown, wait, this is not sustainable. What happens when next outbreak? There's no vaccine. So then I would question physicians more than just lockdown. Can we look at alternative medicines? Mm-hmm. Is there any other country that is doing something that is alternative? Do we have differing views on the lockdown mantra? Now, the job of physicians are going to do what they do based on their training. I am not going to begrudge the physicians or these epidemiologists or the virologists or whomever for sticking to what they know as the training tactic. Wearing masks, social distancing, these aren't new orders, they're old orders, okay? So if that is the case, you are going to see that we have to support, they are going to be there saying that thing. It is the job of the competent authority when they are saying that thing to have other people around who will say, but no, we can't have this. Y'all need to come up with a different strategy. Why do I have to come up with a different strategy? Because we economically cannot pay $20 million a month for national insurance benefits and in perpetuity. We do not have those resources. We need to get the country back up and running. We are running on less than 50% GDP, and on every lockdown, it's less than that. Where is finance? Where is the economics review? Where are the futuristic, innovative sector? Where's the technology hub that makes business easier so that we can have less lines? At this point, we should have already sourced out software to reduce lines so that we can reduce the spread of COVID-19. We haven't had these discussions.
And now we having a discussion on what it is that we want to see our competent authority speak about. Now, hopefully, someone in his camp is hearing this and put it forward to him to say, hey, these are the things you need to do. What is his next speech, today or tomorrow?
No, I can't handle it. No, it got to be on Sunday. Please, someone tell him. Have the speech on Sunday.
I think you have a speech today, no? Sunday?
No, I can't. Oh, I should have gone
whatever
to
day it is, he needs to come up with a comprehensive production where the Bahamian people can sit down and enjoy and say, okay, I'm willing to listen and entertain that. Let's see how this works out. Let's see how this pans out. So we're tired of hearing this lockdown. We're tired of hearing the gloom and doom that we will not survive. We want to have hope. We want to be inspired. We don't want to have a sermon. You know, we're tired of religiosity also, right? But we want to be able to say that the Bahamas is at A. We're now transitioning to B, C, D. And these are the things that we have accomplished. We are, again, the best in the Caribbean. See, we're very prideful people. We want to hear that we are the best in the Caribbean, and we're doing that. The Caribbeans are envious of us. We are leading in terms of the research and development. We are leading in terms of coming up with ideas for how to open up tourism. We're leading in terms of the ideas on how to continue business in the government level. In terms, every day we're hearing that these government offices are closing down. We want to hear that. What are the protocols coming into a government office? What are the protocols leaving a government office? And we're not hearing that. You know, we want to have some confidence. And this confidence doesn't necessarily have to be done solely by the competent authority. He can share that. We are a democratic nation, and we're used to having different specialists speak on particular avenues and aspects of their competence. So this is what the Bahamian people are craving for. This is what we should be putting forward to the Prime Minister. Say, hey, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't really want to hear you no more now, because right now, at this present time, I feel uneasy.
You're
but
talking
if you
the same
put
thing,
forward
man.
some people, I can embrace it and listen to you, and again join into this team and be a participatory in coming up with ideas. But this is what we need right now.
Well, I got a silly text from whomever. I ain't calling the person silly. I just saying the text they sent for silly. Thank you, Jesus, for someone finally having a sensible rebuttal. First of all, that was silly. As soon as they said that, sensible rebuttal from you, Cecil, that was just, they're off the rocker.
But I have a rebuttal. But anyway, go ahead. I
mean, that's a low-hanging fruit to what you've been carrying on with for weeks. If you don't care about those that will die, if we don't lock down and reduce the spread, then just say so. Silly text. I mean, I don't even know where they're being, or, you know, perhaps they do also need medical attention for hearing aids.
With Nahaja, the Bahamian people want to hear a narrative that gives them hope. And beating up the Prime Minister is easy. I mean, every talk show host could go up in it.
You know what it is though? Where am I gonna? What do you want me to do, Cecil? You want me to fabricate hope? You want me to give people a story that I can't change this system? I can't be the competent authority. I can't give that message and work it out.
I believe you can,
but I am not. I am not the competent authority. That's the job.
The de facto competent authority.
I reflect the messaging of the competent authority. When he gets up there, it is my job then to say, thank you for saying what you said, but that was nothing.
You can give a parallel advice to the competent authority.
And I have. And for those who wish not to hear it, that's their business, because they ain't gonna never hear it. I ain't gonna change the fact that at this point, the competent authority has not had anything sensible to say with regard to progress. It was fine and dandy 2 months ago. At this point, no.
What if, Nahaja?
And I gotta go, man.
I can arrange for you to meet the competent authority to present your idea directly to him.
That would be powerful.
Well, actually, I wasn't really serious. I mean, I was just saying it out loud. Don't take me up on that.
I
mean,
can
what
take
if
you
though?
out. You know
I
people.
still have sources. I have my inbox that could make that possible.
And let the
bring them on your
competent
show
authority
and have you ask what is it happening.
Let me tell you something. And when you make that meeting happen, let the competent authority know that I'm not coming alone, because I know that I'm not the smartest person in the room. I have to bring people with me.
I know it.
I know who I am.
I see what Guardians do. All the reporters come in and converge inside while you interviewing. And what interview
I wasn't saying I was bringing reporters. I wasn't saying I was bringing reporters. I said I was going to bring a team with me.
I know
that I'm not the smartest person in the room. I gotta go.
When you all have those big people, I see what's happened.
You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, my good friend C.A. Nuri, joining me here on the show. When we come back, Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart, y'all. We got too little time, but we'll be right back. This wonderful doctor, physician here. Let's go and figure out now on the other side of things, as we have to live in the environment with COVID-19, how do we do that? How do we take control of this health crisis and your personal health to see how best we can live alongside it? Thank you again, CA. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, man. See you Friday.
Massey United Insurance has received an A- excellent rating from AM Best. This means that my coverage is more than just words. When you take out insurance, you want a provider who's reliable, financially stable, and quick to respond when you have a claim. Every insurance company will make these promises, so having a credible third-party source confirm this can really make the difference. From disaster preparedness and relief to customer service and comprehensive insurance solutions, I know Mass United Insurance has got me covered. How good is your insurance company? Get covered. Call RMS Insurance Agents and Brokers 698-7233. Shield Insurance Agents and Brokers 356-7202 or Freeport Insurance Agents and Brokers 352-8501 today.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. I hope that everybody is doing well. We've got on the show with us. Hi, how are you, Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart?
I'm doing so very well. I'm so happy to be on the show with you tonight. It is good to be here.
Listen, it's a pleasure to have you. I saw you on TV and you were amazing, giving such wonderful information. I just wanted to give a quick bio for those who are not familiar with you. Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart is a physician, surgeon, and educator. She is from Trinidad, but has lived in the Bahamas for 27 years. In 1999, she returned home from the UK with a fellowship of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, Scotland. Fancy, very fancy, Doc.
Yeah, we fancy now.
Only the second female to do so. She was the first female lecturer in surgery at the University of the West Indies Nassau Facility of Medicine. She has worked in the ICU, surgery and urgent and ambulatory medicine in the Bahamas, the UK, and done clinical attachments in the USA, Toronto, and the Caribbean. She has an MBA in healthcare and recently worked on the front lines during this pandemic. Woo! Doc, it's good to have you.
It's so good to be here, man.
Listen, so I'm so excited that you're here because what we're finding that being on the front line of this pandemic gives you a wonderful vantage point to help us understand as people what this virus is and why in the levels of fear, because what is happening across the world, there's a lot of fears, a lot of pandemonium, it's a lot of concern, and it is affecting everyday living. We are, there was an argument saying that people catch the flu, they have the cold, and nothing shuts down. And I wonder, is that a fair narrative, Doc, to have when we're talking about COVID-19 in that same vein? So I want to ask you that. When we look at the flu, when we look at the cold, and nothing shuts down and people die, we don't shut anything down, but we're doing it for COVID-19. Is that a fair comparison?
Well, I think one of the things about it, first of all, thank you so much. And I love seeing a young Black woman. That's why I came home to the Bahamas. I wanted to see the young people get up and go. And I get so encouraged, you know. I have two teenagers who tell me, Mommy, you're all old, you know. And I got my little 4 followers on TikTok, you know, hey, man, don't hate the player, you know.
You're better than me.
Yeah, man, they say, Mommy, you think you're young? I know I'm young. I say, that's what I tell them. But, you know, what I want to say is that when I was listening to you talk, I realized this is not the first pandemic we faced, you know. Not the first pandemic I have worked in. I worked in the HIV pandemic when I was I would call myself a baby doctor at that time with Dr. Gomez, you know. And he did yeoman work at that time because we didn't understand what HIV was. People was thinking you could catch it from the toilet seat. You know, it was such a devastating scourge on the land. And we got a cure. We found how, not a cure, but we found how to control that.
Yes.
So much so that being infected with HIV is no longer a death sentence for AIDS. So I'm thinking, I said, you know, we cannot let fear take hold of us. You know, we can't. Because that's what I'm seeing, people scared and, you know, they lock up inside and they see their neighbor, they're shouting right from across the road and everybody quarreling and mad. And we just went to Solomon's and they were trying to fight with each other for the bottle of water in the Solomon's, right? I'm like, but the place is going to be open tomorrow. Come on now, TikTok, yes. Ding dong, right? So we have to be careful, not fearful. And to do that, we need to have knowledge, okay? Now, whenever you have a recent or new infection coming along, cast your mind back to H1N1 in 2009. We had a slightly similar type of component. Now, it did not get to the extent that we have reached with coronavirus. But the fact of the matter is coronavirus is now, I think, in 250 or more countries in the world. This came to us primarily through Florida and through our international travel back and forth. Bahamians were traveling to Europe, were traveling to London, were traveling to the USA. And when they came back in about February, March, April, we started seeing this illness. We started seeing these very ill patients with respiratory issues. And, you know, it was like very, very, very weird in terms of how they would progress and they would get very ill and they would die. Now, we had these rumors coming from Wuhan in China. So we sort of knew what was going to be the pattern at the end of the day. But this was something that was very different. You see, normally we put on this white jacket and it's like a Superman coat. We put the S on our chest and we put our badge on our stethoscope and we go out. This is something very different. This is something that doctors and nurses are getting ill. One of our heroes, Dr. Judson Minnis, he passed away from this terrible disease. So the situation with the COVID is that, okay, maybe more people may not get as ill. Okay, but the fact of the matter is you do not know when someone gets it, is it going to take them down or not, right? So I have my little model here. I like to show it for visuals to people. And the coronavirus, if you realize, is so-called because it has these little spikes on it. It looks like a sun, which is what the term corona means, okay? And the importance of these spikes, I have here my body cell, my little model of the body cell. The importance of these spikes is these spikes act like keys and they connect onto receptors or proteins on the cell. They act like a lock. And it goes ka-ching. And then the little strand inside of the virus goes into the cell. And then it starts to have all sorts of crazy things. It starts to make the cell start reproducing other viruses. That's the first thing it does. So it's like a hostile takeover of the cell. The second thing it does, it starts making the body have this internal fire. We call it the cytokine storm. And when that happens, you get all sorts of cells and chemicals coming that are going to come in to destroy the virus. Now, it may start to do that, but unfortunately, what it also does as well is it starts destroying the normal tissues and the membranes of the body. So as I said, it's like when I lived in Andrews, I had a lady who every summer, she would burn the leaves in the front of her yard. She would catch the whole pine forest afire because she would burn the rubbish, then it would burn her house, then it would burn the fire, and it might soon go to burn out the whole neighborhood. And when I asked the people, they said, well, you know, that's just Miss Percy doing that. She do that every year, and I'm like, okay, that's not normal. Okay, but that is the equivalent example I can think of. And so when you have this, what really affects people is not so much even the virus infecting you itself, but it is that you get this massive response in the body that basically acts like all these chemicals and all these cells actually burn their way through the body. And it may start in the lungs. So when we talk about what are the symptoms of the coronavirus, we know the normal, it feel like if you have a flu, you may have some shortness of breath, you may have some fever and chills, muscle aches and pains, right? But what is happening now, more recently, is that is actually now taking place in the gastrointestinal system. So some people are coming up with diarrhea and vomiting. as a primary system. Some people are starting to have issues with smell and taste because it's affecting the nose. Some people are having to have headaches. That was one of the things that was happening with the young people in Florida. So it's changing and shifting as we progress and as we go along. So it's a smart enemy. Yeah, it's a smart enemy because what they're telling us is that the protein coat, the spike protein, the protein coat on this virus, it's mutating, it's shifting. Because the way the body defends itself against any sort of virus, it produces the white cells in the body, which are like the policeman, are going to produce specific proteins called antibodies. And these antibodies are going to be specific for the spikes or for the different parts of the virus. So it's like if the police is looking for a fella in a red Suzuki, well, the man starts driving a black Mazda, and then all the police can't find him. It's something similar the virus does. So it's going to mutate, and it changes the protein. So now the body is looking for one thing, and it's shifted to something else. And what we are seeing in some cases, and I mean, they're saying this virus has already gone through over more than 9 mutations since it first started. So it's like it's trying to evade capture, so to speak. So this is why we call it novel, because it's behaving in ways that viruses do not normally behave. You see what I'm saying to you, Nahaja?
Yes, yes, this is it. And you know, if you're just tuning in, Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart here, giving us a wealth of knowledge. But when you say that it is mutated about 9 times, it's trying to evade capture, that's a powerful imagery for me, because then I'm thinking, this is why we or the health professionals are finding it such a challenge to give different or information that we are looking for, or hoping for, that there's some sort of control. Is that correct in that assessment, that it's hard to...
The thing about it is, the situation is about it is that, as I said, we now, when I'm saying the mutation, we don't track that here in the Bahamas. At least we have not as yet. I think at some point in time, Dr. Indira Martin, Dr. Nakia Forbes, and the staff of the reference lab, they are just, these people are not sleeping. You know, I hear people talking. Let me just give a shout out to the health team. I hear people mad with the minister, they're mad with the CMO. Listen to me, these people are not sleeping, you know. When we are sleeping, they're up looking at data, they're up tracking trends, trying to contact trace, trying to do all sorts of different things. So we need to have some little bit of consideration and some grace. My friends at PMH, you know, who half in quarantine, right? People at doctors' hospital, these people in the clinics and many places, you know, so be kind. You know, it's not perfect, but nowhere else in the world. Cut your TV on and you will see. So what in some places they have the capacity to test the actual proteins and to test the actual DNA and RNA strands. And this is how they're finding out that what it started off with in Wuhan, okay, is now a very different case to what we're dealing with. And when you see some of the epidemics, like for instance, what happened in New York and what happened in California on the East and the West Coast, for instance, were very different. It seems as if we may have the strain that came from the New York setting, which supposedly may have come straight from Italy. So this is one of the things about it. So this is one thing. So people are looking at it and saying a virus should not do this. A virus normally is not a living particle. It has characteristics of, but in order for a virus to reproduce on its own, it has to get into a cell. It needs a cell, a human cell, a dog cell, a cat cell. It needs a living host. This virus is staying around for 4 days. It's staying in the air. They estimate for some hours. It stays sometimes in air-conditioned units. It stays on gloves and stays on clothes. It stays on the soles of feet. So this is very uncommon. This is why it's called a novel. Novel meaning something that is new. You see what we're saying? So the hunt is on, and I think the scientists, I think human ingenuity will find a treatment, will find a cure, will find a way. But until that happens, this is why we tell people you got to do 2 things. Number 1, you got to sanitize your hands, right? I carry this with me everywhere. I have a big bottle and I fill it with this, and I'm in the food store. I just came out of Solomon's, and in between every 5 minutes, I touch something, I'm sanitizing my hands. You have to keep your hands clean, because what do hands do? Hands touch the men, right? So your grandmother told you stay away from men, and she was right. Don't touch your mouth, don't touch your eyes, don't touch your nose, okay? Why? Those places have wet mucous membranes in them. And when you touch those areas, that is where if your hand touches a dirty surface and then picks the virus up, it's going straight there. And the virus loves that nice, wet, moist area, and it's going to start reproducing. So that's why they also say to us, put a mask on. You know, I see some of my brethren in the ghetto and other places like that walking around, you know, saying, oh man, this coronavirus, I tell, you know, we don't do that, man. No, this is real. I tell people, even if you do not believe that, don't believe in the force of gravity, that's fine. Even if you step off a 10-foot building, when you get hit to the bottom floor on the pavement, you are going to be conch salad, whether you believe in gravity or not, isn't it? Right? So the coronavirus does not care whether you believe it is real or a figment from the left, the right, from space, from Russia, from Iran. You need to put a mask on. You need to put a mask on. And what you're doing with the mask is two things. Number one, if you have any sort of infection, when you put the mask on, it's covering your nose and your mouth. Nothing is coming out. If someone else close to you has that sort of infection, nothing is going to come in. In order for any infection to be transmitted, you must have a portal of exit from the infected host and a portal of entry. You understand what I'm saying to you? If I'm moving from one room to the next, I have to have a way where I leave and a way where I enter. So when we put the mask, it's two for the price of one. It's stopping anything leaving and it's stopping anything entering. That's what it's doing, okay? The other thing that we can do is we can wear glasses. And if you are, some people I see, they have these nice little shields. You can put it on, right? It's a face shield. It's going to cover your eyes. Some people wear this alone by itself sometimes. And I say, well, better than nothing, but stuff can still come up under, right? So the recommendation is for everyone, including, I believe, the pediatricians, and my pediatric people can tell me, but I believe the American Pediatric Association said, any child more than 2 years old, even if they have a sort of issue with the lung and breathing, they can safely wear a mask as well too, right? So the friend of mine said, mask it or casket, you decide, okay? You need to wear a mask or a face covering, bare minimum, whether it's a cloth or it's a cloth mask or it's a surgical mask. In the medical field, we would use these respirators, the N95 respirators, okay? So you have to stop those germs. The third thing you have to do, stay away from people, all right? Love from a far distance now, okay? Social distance, why? Because when I speak or talk or cough, I set into play aerosol particles in the air, all right? When I'm singing or talking, which is why they were telling people you need to have good ventilation if you have an enclosed space when people are talking or singing. You know, this is one of the things they were saying about with church. But anywhere you have a lot of people, you're going to have that same issue. And so the virus can go forward on your currents of air, and it can get into your nose and mouth. At a distance of 3 feet, 6 feet is even better, because the purported situation is that it will then drop to the ground and not get to the other person. I heard one person say he making it 9 feet. Don't come within 9 feet of him. He said he think 3 feet is good, 9 feet will be better. And you know, something he's got that right, you know? So we need to do these things, and doing these things will stop the germ or the virus getting into our system or getting into access to our portals of entry, so to speak. Do you understand?
Man, listen, Doc, you are such a breath of fresh air for us on the show right now. And on the camera, I think your thumb is on the camera.
Sorry, I put my thumb, okay.
Yeah, one of the things, I'm just tuning in, Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart on the show. I'm very happy that she's here with us. We've had folks saying, well, listen, man, there must be some alternative. Are we able to boost our immune system to this virus? Is there something that we can do to help ourselves? Because there are concerns, even if you do all of this, maybe you still, unfortunately, may end up with a coronavirus.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is two things. The virus is like fighting a war, right? First of all, you want to put, if the thief tell you he's coming, what you going to do? You're going to close up your doors, close up your windows. My children tell me I'm paranoid. I say, I get up and I think the porch door open. I say, go down and lock it. Right? I don't want nobody coming in here. I got my girls in here and me in here. We precious, right? Yes. So the locking up is the equivalent of the non-pharmacological interventions, which is the NPIs. That's the sanitizer, the mask, and the social distance. But at the same time, right, you also have to fortify your defenses, right? You need to fortify. The germ is coming. You're going to stop him. The defense is your terrain. How is your body? Right? Now, I know that in 2018, there was National Diabetes Day, and I heard some strange things from the people in the non-chronic, non-communicable diseases unit. We have a rate of diabetes, I think, that rose from 8% or 8% to 12% or something crazy, right? We love food. We make good food, right? Pineapple tart, guava duck, right? Okay, all the good food, you know that song, peas and conch and dough. Food is not food on a Sunday unless we got at least macaroni, potato salad, peas, and then plantain. Otherwise, they look at you. Who that for? That ain't for me. Yes, that's right. And as the people say, we the toters, you know, we like to tote. And now I can put up my hand there, right? When you see the food, you say, well, take some, why cook again? You can take some of this food and have you there. But the problem with that is, Nahaja, is that the food that we are eating as if we are still an agricultural society. Our Grammy and our grandpa, who used to walk 10 miles on Cat Island or in Mastic Point or in Palmetto Point from home to work and back, when they sat down, they could sit and eat things like that because they were doing hard physical labor, right?
Yes,
we have progressed in advance. So we no longer do this hard physical labor, but we want to eat the food, right? So we're not burning the calories off, okay? We don't even walk to go to the food store. We don't, right? We drive everywhere. We drive everywhere, you know? When we have to talk to our friend, we don't even get up and walk the stairs. We say, girl, I'll send you one text, right? Look at the text on the phone, right? That's what we do, okay? Even when we go and we're making copies at work, we'll wait until we have about 10 copies before we go and get the papers because we don't want to get up and walk. But we need to get up and walk. I heard somebody say that sitting is the new smoking, right? We sit a whole heap of the time, and our bodies are not meant to be sitting and staying stationary. We get problems with our back, we get problems with our belly, right? So our diet, that's one thing that we need to do. We need to take care of that. We need to look at our levels of salt. Now, all of us say we like food season high. If you don't put in salt, pepper, everything else like that in it, they're going to tell you that food fresh carried from by them. That's not much for tourists, not for no Bahamian wrong here, right? They'll tell you that straight. But that food, when you eat a lot of salt, it attracts water into your system. We're set up like that. When you have more water in your system, your blood pressure goes up. You're going to have issues. Some of the medication you take for blood pressure actually makes it easier. It's like it opens up more spaces on the cell for the virus to enter in. Some of the medication we take, yes, we do. So we need to really, and when we have diabetes, hypertension, obesity, we have cancer survivors, our immune system is not functioning as well as it should. It does not function well. So we need to improve our immune system. How do we do that? The food we eat. We need to eat live food, like Kentucky and Wendy's and everything else as much. That's not bad, but we cannot eat that every day. We have a problem with food security in our country. We really do. Most of us, if they stopped importing the food in, we would have an issue. Why is that so? Some of the islands, Andros is the 4th largest land mass in this hemisphere, I believe, right? Or in the American area. Andros has black gold. You know, anything will grow in Andros. You don't have to have a green thumb. You just throw the stuff out, it's going to grow.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. I was just saying you throw the seed out and it'll grow. Continue, don't mind me.
Yeah, so why? So we have issues with those things, with getting good whole food. Good whole food is very expensive. So people, when they have plenty children and not plenty money, they're going to buy the cheap filling stuff, the things in the packages, the things that look pretty, the things with the red and yellow dyes in them, right? That's not what we should be eating. We should eat live food, fruits and vegetables, right? Eddie plantain, not necessarily fried, and in a good proportion as well too, right? Yeah. Those are some of the things that we need to have. Beans and nuts and seeds, coconut oil. You know, when I used to live in the US, I went in Whole Foods one day. I told my husband, I said, but hold on, soursop was $3 for one. The breadfruit was $9 for one, okay? The avocado, I tell my husband, I say, we're in the wrong business. We need to go back to the balance. That's right. Because that's the situation. They were making a good deal out of it. So we need to go back to some of those old-time ways, right? The second thing is when you get afraid and stressful, your body just knows, okay, something is happening. Whether it's your boss, the sweetheart, the boyfriend, the man bad drive you, you just start being, your body starts releasing fear-based chemicals. What are they? Adrenaline. Adrenaline starts pumping into the body. Your heart starts beating faster. Your blood pressure raises up as well. What is the other chemical? Cortisol. Cortisol gets your body ready to fight or to run away. So it increases your level of sugar and of fat. It also depresses the function of your immune system. So when you are stressed out and anxious, you are actually going to do more harm than good to your body and to yourself.
Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart, Doc, don't come off the live stream, but we have to end the show here on Guardian 96.9 FM. Everyone, if you want to continue to see the after show of this, go to our YouTube page, youtube.com. And type in Nahaja Black and you can see the rest of it there. But you're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black right here on Guardian 96.9 FM. Everyone, enjoy your day, enjoy your time, and please be safe. Socially distanced, do not crowd up in the food store. The food stores will be open. We have to work together to get over this virus. It is not a thing that we can wish away. We have to work together. We have to, thankfully, with those lifting of the lockdown, it gave us more time to prepare. Let us not waste the time to prepare, and let us see what we can do so that we can get this virus taken under control. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, everyone. We will see you tomorrow, and you can continue listening on YouTube. We will see you all tomorrow. All right, Doc. Okay, so for the rest of it, so we were still live on YouTube, and so my YouTube watchers are here. So we just had to make that one cut. And so let me just make sure I put them in the waiting room, and we can continue with our conversation there. All right, so I know that, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but there were some other questions that I had for you, and I think my listeners, our viewers on YouTube would love to get the answers to as well. The discussion on alternative medicines. There has been, we have folks who say, listen, bush medicine, Bahamians, we should go back to the bush. I know before the former minister left, he was pushing for a natural medicine or studies on our bush medicines. And I think he had budgeted in there a facility or space that would employ 1 or 2 people who would research our bush medicines. I don't know if that began before he left, but I knew there was something in the pipeline. Do we know if there's anything, Dr. Williams-Lockhart, that can help with COVID in regard to bush medicine?
Well, what I would say is that if you're saying there's something that treats COVID or prevents COVID per se that is officially sanctioned, I would tell you no. But there are many mechanisms by which we can boost what we call our immune system, and it's well known. For instance, zinc. The zinc is the second most common mineral in the body, the first being iron. But zinc is very important. Zinc is something that when you take it in, it's going to help the cells, the white blood cells be produced. Zinc also, what the zinc does, zinc provides a cap, or it stops, it attaches onto the cell itself. So it stops when the coronavirus tries to come in, it stops it from attaching. Zinc also, once it gets into the cell, stops.
All right, Doc, there you go. Mm-hmm.
And so that is what will happen when we take zinc in. So zinc is something that's very important to take, okay? You can get zinc from your food, or you can also from peas, nuts, beans, seeds, right? You can get zinc from that, or you can take supplementation. Other thing is vitamin D. The body is so well designed, and I tell people that God was such a smart person, was such a smart creator. Vitamin D is in the sunshine. You walk in the sunshine, you're going to have the fat in your skin is going to produce a form of vitamin D that is activated in your kidneys, right? What does vitamin D do? Vitamin D, again, is very important for boosting your immunity. This is the reason why people in cold climates or in climates where they don't have a lot of sun, right? What will happen is that they tend to be more prone towards colds and flus and other things like that because they don't get vitamin D. You should spend 20 minutes in the sun a day, right? And that will help you increase your vitamin D stores. Vitamin D does very similar stuff. It helps boost, like turbocharges those cells that hit the virus and produce chemicals that are going to take the virus down, okay? Wow. The other thing that you want to have, vitamin C, very powerful antioxidant. We know your Grammy, when you were sick, would give you fever, grass, and sour, right?
Yes.
And because citrus fruit, the sour, the lime, the lemon, those sorts of situations and things, they are all going to have vitamin C in them. Vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant. So what do I mean by that? When you get this cytokine storm released in the body, what is going to happen? You're going to have certain chemicals being produced which will punch holes in the cells and damage the cells. You know, like if you put a banana outside, the banana gets black.
Yes.
That's oxidization. The banana gets black. Or nail, if you put a nail outside, it turns red. Or your car outside, some of us buy these little cheap cars, oh Lord. When you park it by the sea for 2 weeks, you see the rust coming on. That's oxidization. That's what that is. So when that happens inside of the cells of our body, it's not good because the cells don't function. Vitamin C blocks that whole activity. So vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant, right? So we can take vitamin C and that will also help us as well. You see what I'm saying to you?
That's great. So what I heard was go outside, get that vitamin D in your system. Let's be more mobile. At the same time, go outside, get 20 minutes of sun, walk around as much as you can. Just to get that vitamin D stored up in your system. Take your vitamin C's and your citrus fruit. I love fever grass, and I drink lemon water every day. but I need someone to, you know, like I need fever grass and beyond. Right?
Yes, but what I would tell you to Angela, people don't know. We and I think we in the Caribbean and we in the what I call maybe the subjective people of the world. We were given we were sold a bill of goods. We were told that all these medicines that we was growing and doing that they wasn't any good. And then as soon as we discovered these are the things that are helpful, most of the antibiotics and medications that we have around came from plants. They are botanicals, you know. So bush tea, just and I agree with that. Bush tea just has things in it that we may not have discovered as yet and how it works, okay? But aspirin came from willow bark, right? That's a botanical, okay? Many things that have the Taxol, which is a drug used for cancer treatment, came from the yew bark tree. There are so many drugs that come from trees, and it's as what they say in the good book, that the fruit will be for our food and the leaves will be for our medicine.
Yes.
I really believe that.
If you're just tuning in, we're a special edition of the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, as we have gone over our on-air radio time, but we are still live on YouTube. We have Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart, brilliant physician, surgeon, educator, etc., here with us on the Hit Back, and it's definitely an honor. And I love that we are learning so much, Doc, and I appreciate your time. The question of hydroxychloroquine has still been this question. I still have people asking about it. And what we have learned is that it has been used in tangent and with other things here locally, as it has been used abroad. We had heard, and I was there on one of Clint Watson's shows, where we had a patient who raved about how it helped her. But it has not been used as this wonder drug. It's not been declared a wonder drug or a cure of COVID-19. I wanted to get your words on hydroxychloroquine as a useful medicine, but is it the cure-all, end-all? And it's a conspiracy to keep it from us. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Well, you know, we started with conspiracies from when they said, you know, that the poor Chinese were trying to kill all of us. I tell people the Chinese are not responsible. Don't stop looking at the little Chinese bill in the hotel, bad eye. The Chinese are, if anything, it's the chairman and the people, the politicians and leaders, you know, they are under as much trouble as we are. So lots of different conspiracy theories, but hydrochloroquine is interesting. Hydrochloroquine comes from the group of quinine drugs, of which some things we use as also antibiotics as well. But what hydrochloroquine is purported to do is that it stops the attachment, the key. It's like, it's another key fitted in the lock on the cell. So where COVID would attach, hydrochloroquine attaches there and therefore stops it from attaching. Hydrochloroquine is also purported to help zinc move into the cell with more efficiency. And so therefore it stops, and when it gets into the cell, hydrochloroquine is going to stop that cytokine storm from happening. That is what some of the studies have shown. There was a study in 2005, by the NHI, I think in the Journal of Virology. You know, if you put in hydrochloroquine in 2005, you will see that study comes up. Now, at that time, they were dealing with another coronavirus, the SARS, okay? And I think it was SARS and MERS where they were dealing with, and they said they did show some promise. This group of drugs, hydrochloroquine and quinine, right, which are anti-malarial drugs, they did show some promise for treating this group of viruses. So fast forward now to 2020, and people are like, well, why was it good then and why is it not good now? So they're saying that there was a study done, I think, and it was published in the Lancet and the New England Journal of Medicine. I think this was sometime, I want to say in March or in April, very prestigious journals. And these studies said, well, it does not work. It doesn't work well. It has so many side effects. It's actually more harm than good. So don't use it. Now, since these were the studies that were published, the WHO, the FDA, the CDC, used those studies and said, okay, because hydrochloroquine, I think up until April, was being tried, including here in the Bahamas and in other places. There's a series of trials called the WHO, the World Health Organization, Solidarity Trials. So they were trying the drug, and they were saying, well, let's try 5 things and see which works. You know, throw enough mud at the wall, something is going to stick, and that's what we're going to do. So I believe that when these studies came out, that they were said, okay, hydrochloroquine is debunked, it's not safe, don't use it, it actually can cause more harm than good, blah, 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 blah. Well, in a very startling turn of events, a month or two later on, when the researchers and the statisticians said to the people, show us, I think it's a company called Surgisphere, they've done what you call a multi-registry study. They said, show us where your data comes from. Show us how you got your analysis working. They could not reproduce their data. So in a great form of scientific embarrassment, the study was actually retracted. If you go and look at it online, it will actually show you where it says the study is retracted, which is like, that's something
it's huge in scientific field, yes.
So therefore, people started saying, okay, so maybe some people, let's anecdotally, we are looking at some of the things, because now in order for a drug, I don't want to go into that too long, and that's not my field of endeavor, but I've had to read it to get up to speed. In order for a drug or treatment to be authorized, to be used and to be sanctioned, you have to take it through animal trials, and you take it through human trials, and then they say, okay, so much side effects, this, that, you say if you can use it. You normally have to do double random control trials and double blind placebo trials as well. Because of the situation with the severity of the disease and the death toll, these trials have not necessarily been able to be run as yet. I believe one group, I think it's the CDC, I may stand open to correction, is wanting to run a patch trial with some 30,000 individuals. Patch stands for the prevention and treatment of COVID using hydrochloroquine, but that trial has not yet been run. So they don't have the results of it. So what you have right now are people who are saying that, listen, the people are dying. In New York, they were throwing people in unmarked graves, okay? It was bad. It was so bad that people were being told, if you came into the hospital, you know, and you were living in a particular zip code, just buy the funeral clothes one time, because you were not going to make it out. So people were desperate. They say, if I'm going to die, this thing might have worked, give it to me. And so you started getting these anecdotal stories of people. They had Dr. Zelenko in upstate New York treating a cohort of some 350 patients that seemed to have worked. Hydrochloroquine worked with him. He published his results. It's not peer-reviewed, right? You had Dr. I think Emmanuel, she and that group, the frontline doctors, and there's a lot of controversy. They said, well, you know something, we gave it to 400 people who should have died, and they lived. You know, you had Dr. Reholt in France. He probably is the one that is probably maybe the closest kind of one. He has a study, I think, of some 1,000, and he's found that when you use it early, use it in the right population, you're going to get some sort of relief and some sort of cure from that. So having said all of those things, there's a Yale epidemiologist, the name just slipped me. I can't remember his name. Dr. Rennie or something like this. But if you look at type in Yale epidemiologist and hydrochloroquine, he will say he looked at the trials and the data, and he thinks it should work in a bad situation. This may be what you have to do. So what I would tell people, there's a lot going on. So yes, by rights, the WHO, CDC, FDA, they have to figure out what are they going to put into their trials again. That hydrochloroquine has to run the trials again. So when the powers that we say to you, it is not sanctioned for use, they're being correct in that. Now, does that mean to say that you cannot, you yourself and as a whole, you are a thinking person, we have used drugs when what we call off-label use, meaning to say the drugs are not sanctioned for that purpose. Beta HCG, human growth, HCG has been used for weight loss. That's what it was originally sanctioned for, okay? I think Viagra was used for treating hypertension. That's what it was developed for. It failed to treat hypertension, but then men said, give me that drug, man, I like that drug, okay? And then they discovered the other effects of it as well, right? So it is not the first time people have used things off, and even hydrochloroquine, it's used for lupus patients and for people with rheumatoid arthritis. It was given initially for malarial patients, and it was found that their bones and joints stopped hurting them. So they discovered that. And again, so it's not 100% certain, specific as to how it will work. So what I say to people is this. We had family who were in the US and they were sick. They were in danger of dying in the hospital. And they called and said to me, what do you reckon? And I gave them, I said, this is it, talk to your physician. And when they finished, they were on everything. They was on everything that could help. They put them on everything because they were in dire straits. So what I'm saying is this, that is not a decision that I would tell everybody, go around and get some and take some and put it in your pocket and take it, right? Everyone has a competent authority that deals with their health, or they should. You should have a physician that you sit and talk with. You can sit down and say to them, well, listen, this is what I've heard. This is what the pros, the cons, this is how I'm functioning, right? What do you think? From what I've heard anecdotally, many people, physicians and medical people, some people have called me and said, listen, we are taking it, because I need something because I'm in here and it's such a tough situation. And again, as I say, God bless you with that. But that is a decision that, that is something that you have to sit, look at it. As I tell people, we all want someone to tell us what to do, but you could read for yourself as well too. And you can understand it's there. Once you have an iPhone or a smartphone, you have a walking encyclopedia. Don't just use it for TikTok and playing games, get some knowledge in your head as well too. Right? So the people who are believing that HCQ works are right now petitioning, and sometimes nicely, sometimes not so nicely, sometimes loudly, sometimes softly, right? but they are presently going again and saying, look at this drug, look at this drug, look at this drug again. So that's where it is on hydrochloroquine. One point though, because it is used as a therapy for people with lupus and those with rheumatoid arthritis, the fear of some of the people who treat these people are saying that if it is discovered that hydrochloroquine does in fact work, that you know, or people start taking it and hoarding it, it's like it'll become like the toilet paper, you know? Then some people will have, what, 6 trailers full, and then the people who need this drug to live, they will not have an adequate enough supply. So again, it's a check and balance situation. And you have to really, and that's why I tell people, I says, sit with your competent authority for your health. I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor, right? Your body and my body are 2 different bodies, Angela. And I say the thing with the pharmaceuticals, I kind of look at the big pharma and the pharmaceutical industry. I look at them carefully when they tell me things. Why do I say that? I had a situation where I was taking blood pressure medication, the same ACE inhibitor, for some medication called valsartan. I had a side effect of it. It caused my throat to start to close over, my mouth to swelling, and I had to run to the emergency room. Otherwise, I was going to be not able to breathe, right? And so as a situation of that, that was a drug that was sanctioned. That drug was used in the right manner, the right way. I still had a side effect of it, right? So what I want to say to people is this, you know, it's a science, yes, but it also is an art. Because a drug is sanctioned, it does not mean that when you use it, you will not have a side effect. Every drug has side effects, okay? Because a drug is not sanctioned, it does not mean that when you use it, it does not mean it may not have a benefit.
Exactly.
Right? But because it may have a benefit to me, does not mean to say it has a benefit to you. We are different people. Some people who are allergic to a group of antibiotics called ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, they should not take hydrochloroquine. They take it, they're going to have an allergic reaction. So you can't do it like sweeties and say, okay, I got some, you know, in Bahamas, we like to do that.
Yes.
And you had that problem, I got the medicine.
Let me use your medicine. Yes.
Everybody is an automatic doctor, right? Corner shop, Padolia Street University, right?
Yes.
I like Padolia Street, right? Right? But, you know, University of what? Of Wolf Road, you know, as they used to say back in the day. That's where they got their medical degree from. No. You must sit with your competent authority and make your decision, you know. Certain things, as I said, the zinc, the vitamin C, those are the things, those are known that as a whole, you're going to be able to utilize those things. When it comes, every drug is really, it's a benefit to risk situation. That's the thing, you see?
Dr. Susan, sorry, I wanted to ask you this. Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart here on with us, an extended version of the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Doc, I wanted to ask this question here. If, as we looked at it, you mentioned with HCQ, the pros and the cons of it. If we're looking now at the virus and then the lockdowns, in your estimation, and I think that's important that we have this discussion again, the impact or the effects of a lockdown, how do we get, what are the pros of it, and why does it have to happen based on what has been said?
So what I would say is this, you know, if you listen, because I know people right now, I think people are just in a panic. We have shifted from where we were before to where we are now, and nobody has a map to get us there. It's like you go in the cut to try and take a shortcut on the back of Andros to get to the Berry Islands, and the fella take the wrong corner, and you end up in the middle of the ocean. And you're like, where we are? Nobody knows, right? So this is where I think we are right now, and it's a very scary place to be. But if you're looking at places like New York, you look at places like Denmark, you look at places like England, you look at places like Spain, they went through a very similar picture. I believe, in the first phase of this disease, we locked down, we did what we had to do, and then we did a textbook, we locked down, lock, and then we reopened again, right? That's what we did. But then when we reopened, I think we were a bit enthusiastic, and everybody went to Florida to shop for cornflakes, and I say COVID, right? Because as you see, this thing comes back with you. So people were not careful. Many people in Florida still were ambivalent about whether the COVID is real or not. They were marching, they were protesting. People came back in. There were many tourists who came back in with tests, and there was issues with the testing. However it happened, we came back in, and there was the COVID strain that we got now started raging through. So the thing about it is, what I would say to people is that everywhere that there's been a lockdown for extended period of time, it's been a very devastating economic consequence, right? And in a small country like ours that does not have the deep pockets and the resources of, let's say, an America, or let's say a Spain, or let's say an England, right? we can do some, but we cannot do all. It is very devastating. You see what I'm saying to you? Right?
Yes.
My heart went out to some of these young men in some of the not so well-off areas, and they were saying, listen, we are hungry. I heard the young man say his 7-month-old daughter was hungry, and that really got to me because I'm like, no, we should not, we have to do some things that are going to affect us. So there is always a balancing act. And as I said, there is no one perfect answer to that, Najala, no one perfect answer. Because what people say, they say, listen, we will lock it down, we'll kill the economy, but we need to keep the people alive. On the other hand, the other people say, well, when you kill the economy, might as well you kill the people now, because they ain't gonna have nothing to help them live. Now, what you going to do, right? And it's like it's a Hobson's choice between one and the other. You know, so this is why people were talking about they wanted to have the hydrochloroquine, people in that hydrochloroquine lobby. I was saying to them, test that some more, because if that's cheap, you know, I think hydrochloroquine and the treatment they wanted was like $5. Nobody is going to get rich out of hydrochloroquine, nobody. You know, it's there, it's available, they've used it widely. There were some issues with the populations of patients they used it with and the doses they used it with. Again, you have to run big trials to see how that is going to function, how that is going to work, right? But it's there, it's simple, you know.
And it's inexpensive.
It's very inexpensive. There's another drug called ivermectin, and ivermectin, I believe, is one of those that stops the replication of the virus inside, or when the virus attaches and the code strand goes inside, it stops the replication of the virus inside. Again, anecdotal studies meaning to say, this is like you said to me, when you're making your grits, put some butter and a little bit of salt and cinnamon in it. It tastes better. That's an anecdotal study. That's something I tried and it seemed to work good.
Yes.
So I tell you, go try it now, and you say, okay, Susan, I tried that, it worked good, right? But that is not a tried and true recipe, you understand? That's an anecdote, that's something. But these are coming out of some centers in Broward, I think out of Spain and out of some places in France as well too. They were saying that that had worked. So, you know, it could be very confusing. You have to understand when even physicians are sort of like looking to see, okay, what are we going to try? What are we going to do? Then it's, you know, there's not 100% consensus among, you know, those bodies, but the people who govern have to come out and say, this is what we recommend because we are falling in line with these regulatory bodies, the FDA, the WHO, the CDC. And to my mind, that may be agitating, says, try it, put it in the trial, let's see what happens to it, and then we will see where that situation is going to work. So I want to make that point clear to people, right? It's not, I don't think people are trying to kill Bahamians or trying to kill Black people.
No.
At the time, but there's a process, and because I want the process speeded up, right? I cannot just go and say, I think the red pill work, give me this pill, right? There is a process, a flawed process, maybe because we all are human, right? We are human, and there have been some drugs that went through the process and then had to be pulled again, right? So it's not 100%, but it's the best thing that we have, and it's the way we function right now.
Let me ask you, Doc. Last question, I promise. This is the one. I'm Baptist, but this is true. This will be the last question. Vaccine. There is a talk of vaccine. I can't remember. I promise you it's going to start with R, and I'm not going to say it right. That is supposedly being tested, and that it has already gone through trials. That is going to be hopefully presented to the market by end of the year or the beginning of next year. If I gather you are familiar with this, and I may have gotten some details wrong in that, can you tell us briefly about what that is, and what do you know about it, and where we are?
Well, so what I do know, and again, listening to Dr. Nakia Forbes, who heads the infectious disease and the national the reference lab as well, is that there's a trial for a drug called Remdesivir, right? And I think this is something, it was an antiretroviral drug that initially was developed for HIV. It stops replication of the virus in the cell. And they think that has some promise. You know, the initial results in the sanctioned body show that has some promise. So they're trying to do that trial right now and put people in it and see, does it really show the promise that it does show? Okay, that's one thing. So that's one thing that they're doing. The other thing is they want to use the vaccine. Now, remember when we had the H1N1 and different viruses, the flu, and so the vaccine. Now, I've taken the flu vaccine every year. I have my husband, he's from the Bahamas, he's from Ragged Island. He said, I ain't taking nothing, right? I can drink heresy, I'm taking that. I'm taking that, kill you faster. I go in the hospital, I take the vaccine, my children take the vaccine, okay?
Yeah.
We haven't, some people are, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not for people giving me something for an agenda either. What is a little concerning is that with these vaccine companies, we have seen on the stock market, their stock rise, their stock go up 50%, 250%. They are set to make billions of dollars should this function, should this go. That's the first point. The second point is that vaccines have been used very well from, I think, the 17th century when Edward Jenner used cowpox to inoculate himself and his family against chickenpox. There's an interesting story. There's a book called Case, C-A-S-T, where it actually was a slave from, I want to say, Ghana, who showed him this was something the Ghanaian people had been doing from the 15th century. And it's purported that this slave, when the slave came, he told Edward Jenner what to do. And that is how we got the whole thing of vaccination and keeping safe. But, and a big but, the vaccine for the COVID virus, it's an mRNA virus. It's an RNA virus. Vaccines normally consist of either dead or live virus particles. So they'll kill some, they may take away some of the spikes so it doesn't have the damages, but when they put it into your system, the vaccine sort of train the defense system to combat it. It's like a mock trial, a mock run. So that when the real pathogen or the real disease hits the body is ready. You know, it's like running a mock defense, like a trial, like a disaster trial, right? Yes. Now, because of the situation with the virus, it's an RNA virus. It's a special type of virus. It's an RNA virus, okay? So it's a sort of a reverse situation. It's like a copy, but on the backside of a copy of the paper, they have to use what you call an RNA, which is in the nucleus. It's in the nucleus and in the cell, right? They have to use that RNA, that mRNA, the messenger RNA. And to go a little bit into it, the cell is here. The nucleus of the cell is like City Hall. It's like the mayor of the cell. Inside of the nucleus is the DNA. The DNA is the code. It tells you, it's like the plan for the cell. The plan for the body is in the DNA. Our chromosomes are there. The DNA is too big to get out of the cell. So normally what will happen is a little messenger called messenger RNA will go into the cell, take a copy of the DNA, and then come out and carry it to the little protein building factories in the cell. And that protein building factories will now produce whatever the cell has to do. So RNA is actually a messenger, right? That RNA normally is not something that you normally would have, but it's something normally found in the nucleus of the cell. I just have a very healthy respect for anything interfering with the nucleus of any cell. And then that's going to affect the genetic stuff. So this vaccine is supposed to, now it's never been tried in humans before. We don't have RNA or DNA viruses. Okay. We don't have them. So what is supposed to happen? It's supposed to come into your body and it's supposed to infect the cell. Now, when it infects the cell, it is supposed to produce not the full virus, so it can infect you, but it's supposed to produce the spike proteins. So now when the body sees the spike proteins, they can gear up and start training up and start producing chemicals and cells against the spike protein, so that when the virus normally hits the body is able to use these cells and proteins and kill the virus. This is what is supposed to happen. But I will tell you, because they are moving so quickly, normally you do animal trials. We use ferrets. Ferrets have a similar lung system to humans. So we would inject it into ferrets, see what happens to them, right? When you've injected it into ferrets in the ferret trials, then you have to do what you call a challenge trial. Challenge trials mean now that you vaccinated the animals, you're now going to infect them with the virus to see, does the vaccine work? And after you've infected them with the virus, then you're going to kill them and you're going to do an autopsy to see, okay, it did this to the brain, it did this to the lung, it did this. Well, because we are in such a hurry to move with this, we have skipped animal trials and we've gone straight to human trials. So when you hear them talking about the Chinese lining up the poor Chinese army, and I'm so sorry, I don't want to talk bad about the chairman, they might be listening to me, I don't know, right? Okay, they have lined up the Chinese army and they're giving it to them. And so there is some bit of consternation that this is so very, very, very new, you know, and we're doing it because we want to, and it's a good thing, we're trying to get help. Because the proportion is that if you get a vaccine and people can now not be at risk of getting the virus, we can now come out safely. We can go back to work safely. You know, we can do it the same way that it would work. And so this is the purported thinking about it. But in the cases of in the flu, and I would say, I haven't sat and studied that fully. The flu mutates, which is why when you have the flu epidemics, the vaccine from last year doesn't work for this year because That's it got smacked. And instead of driving a red Suzuki, it's now driving a blue Honda, right? And the body make the things for the red Suzuki. The policeman looking for the red Suzuki. Where the man in the red Suzuki is? No dread. I say man. and he with his blue Honda zoom right past the police checkpoint. You know how they do this here. You know how that go, right? Right? So this is what I'm saying. So it's science goes along, and sometimes science has to be brave, you know, but there's a whole big conversation about the ethics of it, the ethics of, for instance, you have Mr. Gates, who is a great philanthropist. But my concern is that this is not the virus Mr. Gates went to school to learn to treat.
That's right.
And people are not hard drives. He's a human body. So I'm not being disrespectful to him. He's done a lot of great work, you know, and he has done many stuff. But you just sort of like, it's like your spider sense starts to tingle. A friend of mine said that it's like you're not quite sure. And so, you know, we have to, and people are not trusting of these regulatory bodies, you know. The WHO had something saying that they had to look at sources and stuff. And the comments, the people would tell the WHO, we don't trust you all. Why should we listen to what you have to say? And again, there's some fear and anger there as well, too. So naturally, what I would tell you at the end of the day, I tell people, I cannot produce a vaccine, make a vaccine. I don't have a supply of hydrochloroquine, ivermectin, or anything else, you know, hide up somewhere, right? I don't have some in a storage depot, right? What can I do? I can make sure that I'm as healthy as I can, right? If I see that I'm not taking the right type of fruits and vegetables, right, I can take some supplements, some good organic supplements. If I'm not eating well and eating right, I can, as you say, exercise, sleep, meditate and pray, make sure I communicate with my family and with my friends, that I boost my immune system. I can do that. All of us have to make a plan. I saw the Minister of Health made that point in one of the headlines, and I said it, and I agree. You have to make a plan for coming out of COVID. What is our plan? Companies have to make a plan. What is your plan? What is my plan? Some of us, I'm 56 years old. As I say, I'm 56 and fine, man. This is what 56 look like, you know? Yeah. I tell my husband, I recently discovered lashes, man. If I had discovered lashes, boy, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. God is a good God anyhow, right? Let's talk that talk at a different time, right? But my 16-year-old daughter, she fixed the sister up with the lashes, right? Okay? Yes. But I'm 56, and I have to sit down and think, okay, am I going to run hard until I'm 65? Or should I have the older people, the younger people go out there? Should I train up some of them and have them go out there? You know what I'm saying? When you go to the banks, you don't see people my age out there anymore. You see many of the people who you have. And even Mr. Roberts at the food store, he said he's not coming out. He said, put them young people out on the front line. So we have to make some plans. Money is another issue. You know, people who worked in the hotel in good jobs, man, great jobs, gone. The hotels are supposedly trying to come back maybe November, maybe October, maybe next year. When you don't have money or they could pay you for half pay, how are you going to do it? We got to make some plans as to what we have to do, you know, and we have to do something, you know, get a side hustle, bake some bread, sell something. You know, I was by the little man with Mr. Bodie, the tart man, he told me he makes tarts and everybody was stopping to buy stuff from him. I bought some myself. But my husband, I'm trying to eat most of that, you know, but get a side hustle. You know what I'm saying to you? Sit down and make a plan and say, okay, if it comes back, all right, this is what we will do. But if it does not come back and I'm not able to go back to work, if I don't get that contract, what do I need to do? You know what I'm saying? You got to make a plan. So you have people feel powerless and want to riot and ravage and raise. And I mean to say, that's your democratic right. And there's a fantastic man, listen, Bahamians don't really, why Bahamians don't like themselves now? So tell me that.
I don't know.
Why do we not give ourselves credit for our brilliance, man? You know, this is a sidearm, but we have my neighbor was John Beadle, you know, and John Beadle, he is like that man, that cat is in another realm, man. You know, we had the Burnside brothers, we have artists, we have writers. My pumpkin buying nephew is Dr. Christian Campbell, the author of One in the Dusk, you know, and so many awards. We have so many people and we have these 2 Supreme Court justices, man, and this is like the Battle of the Titans, the Battle of the Valkyries, you know, like the Wagner movie. I think it's Dame Joan Sawyer, and I forget the name of the other Joan.
Dame Anita Allen.
Boy, and I was reading, one was writing, replying to the other one. The Constitution Article 19 says it's Article 29 says it's Article.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, ladies, y'all go, man, go for it. And educate us, man, train us up. This is not the constitutional right. You're locking people down. And the other one was answering back. We have these brilliant legal minds here doing that for us as well too. And so my thing is, don't beat up the police. The police just trying to get their couple piece of plywood themselves, man. Don't make it hard for them, right? You gotta go march. Likewise, I said, the police don't beat up the people. People are just trying to protest their democratic right. This is what Bahamians have always done. Yes. From the time of the Burma Road riots, from the time of the riots outside Black Tuesday. I was reading the history of the Bahamas, and I was just so excited because my husband's aunt, Williams-Lockhart, was one of the people who went to England to present a petition for independence. We come from people of, FNM and PLP might not talk now, but they came from the same party. Pinling was the young gun, and Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield was one of the older people. Those first dissidents, those first people who joined that first PLM, and it is such a story when you read it. It's like a thriller. Had to hold hard and believe in their experience. Bahamas along the ways. Since when we just get comfortable. We just, as people say, get light and inside toilet and all this type of different thing. That's Johnny come lately, man. We have to dig into our resources and get that out of us, man, and be able to do it. We can do it. We can do it.
Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart, Doc, I am so happy that we did this today. I'm so honored that I have the opportunity to, even after one time slot is taken from us, we can continue this conversation via YouTube. And there are a lot of people who are saying, listen, they appreciate the way you've broken down this virus. I think beyond anything else, knowledge is power. It gives us more ability to understand, and with understanding, there is hope, right? Once you think you know something, and knowledge has given us the ability to make better decisions. The natural choices on how to build up our immune system, those are key bits of information. I think that people can say, yeah, I can go outside right now. I can go for a walk in the morning. Even though we're locked down, we can go out and walk about in our community. We can definitely get the vitamin C. So before the next lockdown, I have to go get my zinc. I have to go get my vitamin C, or look in my yard and figure where I'm going to plant this fever grass, which I love so much. So those are strong options. And when we look at your discussion of HCQ, wonderful. Okay, I mean, you hit so many points out of the ballpark. I want to thank you for that. And I know that, again, I can tell you from all of us who are listening and watching via YouTube, they're saying thank you as well. I hope that we get to do this again, because I think as we continue along within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, we are wanting every day to know, okay, not just how do we handle this, but are we doing what is necessary to live alongside this virus?
I've started doing some training, and what happens every time I do a training, somebody comes up and says, boy, I'm really scared now. I didn't take this for serious. And I'm like, good. I need to get it into your head that, listen, because the other point to make with the virus, and I'll say this and end it, 50 to 80% of the people who get the virus, Angela, they are never going to show any symptoms, They either have very mild symptoms or they show no symptoms at all. But it is that 20%, the older people and the people with those predisposing conditions. And worryingly, the virus we brought from Florida now was hitting the 30-year-olds and the 40-year-olds. And I believe they were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, they were saying a man who was in his 30s died as a result of this, right? Now, what predisposition conditions he had, I did not 100% know it, right? So it has shifted and it has changed, and we have to shift and change along with that as well too. But understand, the majority of people who have it do not show symptoms. Schools are getting ready to start back over. In the child group under 10, those kids, they may carry the virus in their system, but children don't get it. 5% of 100 people have COVID. 5 of them will be kids. And I think just from anecdotal remembering, I've only heard of maybe an 11-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, less than 20 people of that 1,000. And I stand to be corrected, I don't have all the data, actually have kids. So that's another good point. So you have to look, but the thing is, it's like a marksman hitting. You don't know who is going to hit. And when it hits you, you may be the person, especially if you have other issues. So that engenders the fear in there. But I would say to people, educate yourself, and look here, we know how this goes, right? We know that we have the red in now, the Google may come back, the green may come in, we fight and fuss a lot among ourselves. I've been here a long time, as I say to people, yeah? But, don't assume the people in authority are trying to kill us now. Oh my goodness, they're doing and you have to understand now, these people are not sleeping. These people are running, they have to deal with their own families. Some of these doctors will tell you that they had to leave their families at home for 2 weeks to clear the sick people.
Yes.
I'm talking to some of the people in the hospital, half the people are on quarantine. When you get exposed, you got to sit down in quarantine in Princess Margaret. So the other half are running hard, not resting. These people, so sometimes, listen, have a little grace. If you see a doctor, or a nurse or something like that, tell them thank you. They were clapping staff, and I'm not saying that, but, that should necessarily be the case. People stocking your shelves in the grocery, coming out, the BPL, the water people. Let's okay, we gotta, and we have to, the due process of the democratic process is fantastic to see. I hear people talking, they're going to protest. And that's what we can do. We can do those things, but let us do it in a supportive manner. Let us not pull down. Because remember, the chair that we're pulling down today, we might want to sit on it tomorrow, then where would we be? Huh?
Yeah, there you go. Where would we be? Doc, man, listen, I love you. Sorry, I didn't, you're supposed to say those things sidebar, but I love you.
I love you. I'm looking at you here and wondering, boy, how that blonde might look at Mag anyway. I don't know if I was like that.
I can send you a side note. I can tell you how to get it. I know the person. She's do lashes too. I can hook you up. All right. Dr. Susan Williams-Cartwright. Doc, I see you drop your phone. I know what happened there.
I was laughing so hard. Just like oh Lord, I laugh at the lashes. That's what it was. Oh boy, the lashes. The blonde hair. I got too excited.
It's allowed.
I know, man. But listen, man, this is a beautiful country. We are so blessed to live in this island home. My plan is I'm going to be an old lady. I'm going to dye my hair purple, and I'm going to wear a purple bikini on the beach, on the pink sand beach. That's my plan, girl. That's what I'm working on right now.
Man, listen, that purple, that'll suit you. That'll go with your eyes, dog.
You are not good for me, though. You are not good for me. I have to watch you now a second time. But it's great to be able to laugh. It's great to be able to laugh. That helps.
It does. And it is, and it's good for the soul, man. In these times, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, right? So let's laugh and get healthy together. Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart, thank you so much, Doc. And we will do this again, I assure you. And that next time, I will have them send you a 0-calorie bottle of wine. I mean, just to help you.
Oh Lord, you gotta make that non-alcoholic as well. My head, I don't do too good with those little things.
Well then, you know what? With that said, I feel you, and I will send that as a 0-calorie apple cider.
Okay, beautiful. I like that one.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you. I see everyone who's following via YouTube. Thank you guys so much, Doc. Thanks again. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black on Guardian and on YouTube.com. Subscribe and share. Let people watch this if you want them to know more about it. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you again, Doc. Take care.